Okay. It's muted right now, so.
We gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight. In the void where dreams do play. Soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Motherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed.
All available pilots to the strip. Kill the escort. You are cleared for takeoff.
Julius flight. Engage burn and flight heading 110.
Alright, here we go. Missile incoming!
Launching countermeasures.
Alright, shut them down.
I've got a shot. Clear them out.
Thanks for the assist.
Anytime.
Quantum jammers engaged.
Let's finish.
Adjusting it now. Reaper Squadron. Thanks for joining us. What's your sit rep? In position, holding now. Understood. Stand by for further orders. All flanks. Bishop wants to lose formation on our battle so we don't clump up. Copy that.
And greetings. Welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and we are back. Today is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. First Sunday in the month of May. Wow, CC Creator kicking us off with the first sub. Thank you, CC. We appreciate that. Once again, May the 4th be with you. Happy to be here with you today. Here with a good friend of ours, a longtime friend of the Soul Citizens team and family. Actually, one of our moderators is joining us today. He's been here before, but it's been a little while. So we have Admiral Kusanagi with us today. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Griff. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, that's blasphemy for some people. You know that, right? You're going to get some folks really worked up
Yeah,
on that.
it's okay.
That's good. It's good.
I love both of them. I mean, I'm a big Star
I
Wars
know.
fan, I'm a big Star Trek fan too. So I was just thinking that, I'm like,
That's good stuff.
So
Well, listen, it's good to have you back on today with me. Today, Lilac85. Thank you for that follow. Thanks for kicking us off with the first follow today. Hope you enjoy the show. This is going to be a kind of a different show, unique show. Not just because Admiral Kusanagi is on board with us today as one of our moderators, but also because of our backgrounds and our experiences. And this is talking about real life experiences. The title of today's show is Formations. And, people have been asking me, what is this about? And what it's about is we're starting to look forward and trying to look forward with the direction that CIG is going with Star Citizen in particular. And we've always known that Star Citizen has an emphasis on multiplayer gameplay. And even though there are aspects of solo play that we do, we also know that the game is being built out for those people who may want to work collaboratively together in small, medium, or large organizations, or just friends that just want to get together and do things in the game. And one of the experiences that I had being an old EVE player was that you could play EVE solo, but it was better when you played with other people. And particularly if you were doing risky things that had to do with making a lot of money. And that could have been anything from just moving an item from one location to another, or something as simple as a mining operation. It always was better to have others help you. But it was also important not only who came, but what they brought with them. And so today is going to be talking about the different types of strategies that you could consider for your gameplay. This is not a Bible. It's not saying this is what you have to do. We're just going to give you some scenarios, and I'm going to lean on Admiral Kusanagi because this is one of the things he really, really cares about a lot when it comes to the game, but also because he has real life experience as a veteran. I have not served in the military, and so for me, all of my experiences are from talking to people, reading, or watching movies, and watching movies could definitely be way off. So what we're going to do is he's going to give us some scenarios from his perspective of different types of things that we would do in the game or consider you might do, and some things that maybe he's thought about he would like to do. Then I'm going to show you mine. And mine are going to kind of come from more from the perspective of somebody who really doesn't know a lot about doing formations, but just trying to use what little information I have. And then he's going to give me his critique to a certain degree. He may say, you're going to die. Then again, he might say, it's not so bad. It'll work. Just maybe do this. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask him on some of his choices, like, what made you decide to go with that? Or, okay, I understand why you did that. So it's going to kind of it's going back and forth with each one of our things. One of the things that we want to give credit to is Star Jump Grim and the folks over at Star Jump Station. They have done a fabulous job with creating the fleet viewer, you guys know, over at hangar.link. And many of us in the Star Citizen community use this as a tool. We're going to be doing it in real time. This is not going to be recorded. The only thing we did was set up our ideas for fleets ahead of time. So you're going to kind of see a little bit of scrolling and moving around and things like that. But that's because we want you to kind of, we've got a lot of fleets here. We're not going to be able to cover them all. We probably got at least 30, but we're probably going to only cover maybe cover half of them. I don't know, but we'll see. But we also want you guys to chime in. If you see a fleet's formation or something that's here and you're kind of wondering why that, or you think it's crazy, feel free to tell us in the chat. We're going to be paying attention to what you guys have to say too. So we're going to be kicking it off first, though, with some background. Let's talk about formations. Admiral, if you would like to, I'm going to we're just going to do some reading. I'm not going to have this on the screen, but Admiral's going to read a few things. I'm going to read a few things just to give you an idea about why formations are important. And this information that we pulled is from the U.S. Naval Institute, and much of this still can be very apropos to what you want to do in this game. So, yeah, Admiral, why don't you kick us off with that intro there?
Alrighty, Griff. Ships move in formation for strategic reasons, primarily to maximize firing power and facilitate coordinated defense and attack maneuvers. Formations like the line of battle allow ships to fire their broadsides without hitting friendly vessels, increasing the overall firepower of the fleet. They also enable a focused concentration of fire on a specific enemy target. Additionally, formations provide defensive advantages, such as protection from raking fire at close quarters and the ability to choose the time and distance of an attack.
Okay. And some of the points that you mentioned, one of them was increasing firepower. Ships in formation can fire their broadside guns on the side of their ships without risking hitting their own ships, allowing the entire fleet to engage in a concentrated fire barrage. To be honest with you, Admiral, I really didn't think about that very much. You know, I've always seen how formations are set up, but I didn't think about it from the perspective of not shooting your own people, which is something that it probably seems obvious, but it didn't really cross my mind.
Well, when you think old school, yeah, I mean, when you're talking about having a triple deck of guns, and you have like the British against the French or something like that, then yeah, you don't want to be in the middle of stuff like that. So that it makes a lot of sense.
But so is that why they do that? Like when we see the arrowhead formation, there's a certain staggering of ships, though. Like, in other words, not everybody's not flying horizontal to each other. There's gaps in between, right? For ships.
For you said the arrow.
Well, let's go back to like World War II, right? Where you had turreted ships and stuff, right? I'm saying they weren't flying like this, right? They would fly staggered, right? And I'm saying, is that the reason why? Because of the being able to shoot and not have to worry about shooting your partners that are in your squad?
Let's take bombers. Let's take bombers for example. If you're like a Japanese Zero and you're coming downwards, you don't want to have like a line of ships because then all you have to do is kind of like just pick and choose. If you're staggered a bit, then the chances of hitting one ship and maybe the second one behind it is a lot less. Gotcha. Probably like 0. So the idea, and that's the same thing for firing against a ship that's on the other end, because what ends up happening is you're at a different distance, so the rounds coming in, although you kind of from a distance it might be looks similar, but you could be 300 yards behind them. And so like the rounds may go over the first ship and not even get close to the second ship. So that's kind of like how that's like set up.
Okay. Yes, and
specifically, I was just so you know that I'm an Army veteran, but I'm also I've got a lot of experience. Looking at it, I'm very forward leaning towards the military. So checking out stuff like this. So this is what makes me kind of like really interested in passion for capital ships.
Okay. Yeah, the prisoner, and staggered in height as well. Absolutely. Admiral, why don't you go ahead and take that next one on concentrated fire?
Concentrated fire. By maneuvering the line of battle, ships can concentrate their fire on a specific part of the enemy fleet.
Okay. Pretty straightforward stuff, right?
That's pretty straightforward, yeah.
Yep. Defensive advantages, formations, particularly the line ahead column formation, provides defensiveness against raking fire and allows the fleet to choose the time and distance of attack. Okay.
Yep. Coordination and communication. Formations facilitate communication and coordination among ships during maneuvers and engagements.
Okay. And mutual support. Ships in formation can provide mutual support and protection from the enemy fire. Chauvin, absolutely. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we look at some of the formations about when you have like a carrier or some VIP or something like that you want to make sure you have a protection for. So yes, we are going to touch on that as well. I know one of the things that was interesting about in Eve, and it was one of the ones you read about coordination and communication, Admiral. In Eve, people are very serious about how they communicate. They minimize conversations, right? There's no talking. There's no asking questions. There's no, laughter across or chatter across the thing. There's these people who are in charge of different squadrons or formations, and you just basically listen to them. And when they tell you to do something, you just do it, right? Do you think that players that level of discipline is too much for some players? Because there are some people who will say, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just asking the question. Some people say, well, I'm just playing the game for relaxation. I'm not trying to be in some mil-spec thing, or I'm not trying to go all out. But is there a certain level of, when it comes to communication and coordination, that people do have to kind of defer a little bit and kind of be listening? Because I've been with people and I've been very frustrated sometimes in groups, and we're trying to do something and somebody's mind is someplace else, or they're doing their own thing. What do you think?
There's certainly there's different tiers of communication that you need for how big your fleet is. You could be in, we'll say for Star Citizen hopeful terms, you'd like a 500-person fleet. Of course, you're not going to have everybody in the same channel. You're going to have people who are in the command channel and maybe a flight squadron channel. People in the turret, like similar to the Squadron 42 thing, when you had the one guy talking to the turret operators, like, hey, concentrate fire here. And I think that's what it probably should come down to when you have a fleet that big. But if you're in a small fleet, then you just kind of like just like, hey, just pipe up if you see something going wrong, or if you might see somebody in your radar that I can't see, so and so forth. So that way everybody's on the same page.
That makes sense. Yeah, depending on the scenario. Okay. All right. Well, listen, we're going to jump into it. We just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background, and we're going to go ahead and start taking a look at some of the scenarios that we've created this week. And we're going to start out with Admiral Kusanagi's, because he's going to be the first guinea pig. This is the very first one. So let's talk about this one real quick. What do you have here for us?
Okay, so it's the Perseus, right? It's coming out hopefully in a couple of weeks, so we'll see if it shows up or not.
Yeah, we'll see, right?
But it's interesting because I just wanted to bring this on up because I just want to say that I feel like having a ship being manned fully is probably the best thing that a group can do, whether it be a Perseus like here, or like a Polaris, or a smaller ship like a Connie. So I kind of like want to hit that home, and then because it's just gonna be more effective. And I know we're talking about server blades coming out, but everybody's thinking the AI stuff. But if you look at the other types of server blades, then you can potentially lock, like it can lock onto a specific target, like an engine, like that's a server blade. There are other server blades for like automatic, shaft and flares based on the attack of a missile. You don't even have to worry about it. So these are things you're going to lose out on if you're just throwing in all your stuff on your turrets.
Well, without even getting into the AI side of it, let me ask you a question. Right
now, I'm done with that. Yeah.
Why did you call this patrolling? What is it about?
Because it's a gunboat, right? The Perseus is officially a gunboat, and was kind of just like a show of force. It like gunboats would normally just like hang out in like littoral waters and visit, like we'll say like Panama or Havana or something like that. Not really like deep ocean stuff, and they would just kind of do a show of force. And I think this ship is kind of like that. If you wanted a little bit of extra support, and I'll back up just a second here. And I'll add in 2 Super Hornets, so Mark IIs, of course.
Okay.
And then I actually, if you want to ask me why I picked those ones specifically, you can. But I'll just go out and say like I wanted it to be have them medium fighters, so they had a little bit more range, and then have a little bit more maneuverability and capability than a heavy fighter. So that's why I chose those.
So when we talk about patrolling, I'm thinking like, is this something? I'm talking down in the future, right? Nothing in the current time frame. But one of the things CIG had showed that in the future that orgs would be able to build a base, right? Would this be kind of something like that when you talk about something that's patrolling, that even though the base has its own defense?
Yeah, if you wanted to, if you had a space station, or if you even had like a terrestrial base, and you wanted to check out your areas and just ensure, because the radars in these are really good, right? And the capabilities of this ship is really good. It's just kind of like it just really is. It's like you're flying your flag, as you go around your AOE, your area your AOE, your AOE,
Right.
which is like your area of operations.
Hmm.
So that's I mean that's why I like the ship a lot. It's just kind of has a lot of capability to it.
And does the ship kind of come across? And I'm hoping I'm not using the right term. In comparison to the Polaris, does this ship come across more like a fast attack cruiser, something that can respond quickly to something? Is that other reason why? Because my understanding is the
It's
ship's
more
supposed to be
maneuverable. I
maneuverable,
mean,
right?
it's
Right.
it's
And it's got a
for
size
me
7 on it, right?
personally.
Is it a size 7 on this
Yes,
thing?
there are two size sevens. There's a
Two? Oh
size
wow.
seven on one on top, and there's a size seven on bottom. So
Okay.
it actually can disable a frigate.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, I
Okay.
don't know how many shots you need on it, and we'll see how
Right.
that comes to play. But it's supposed to be equivalent to about 4 Ares.
Wow.
So, because if you think, like an Ares has one size seven, and this has
Hmm.
got four. I'm just kind
Hmm.
of throwing that out there. So,
Hmm.
and it's got armor plating, and so it can take a lot more damage than say an Ares can. So it's got a little
Right.
more survivability to it, and plus the
Okay.
PD turrets and so forth. And it's getting more. Actually, it's getting more PD turrets from what I understand.
Oh wow. Okay.
But that's what I think is a really decent ship of the line, if you want to say. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. That's one scenario. Now I'm going to embarrass myself and give my scenario next. What do I have? I don't think my browser's up. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. All right. So I decided to go with the big guns right off the bat, right? And one of the reasons why is because I have an affection toward bombers, and I have yet. Not that there's been a reason to even do this yet, right? But when we look at historic war films and stuff, bombers fly in a certain formation, and a lot of times right now we have people solo flying an A2 and dropping the big, size 10 bomb on someone. But later on, the reality is a lot of times, yes, there are those times when you get a solo bomber flying, but a lot of times you get squadron, right? Where you get multiple bombers together because they want to go after a target and make sure that the target's taken care of. I've got 3 A2s here. And even though they're very formidable when it comes down to protecting themselves from ground attacks and with lower guns, they're very vulnerable to a degree from the top. More vulnerable, I should say, from the top. So I've got Redeemers there riding alongside with them. And I think I picked them mostly because of their turret response, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best thing to do. And so I want to kind of throw that out there. And chat, feel free to drop in. What do you guys think about this? What do you think would be? Is there a better group to protect 3 bombers? And I would really want to base my question based around the fact that if I'm flying 3 bombers in formation like that, what do you think are the best ways to protect them? What do you got, Admiral?
My question would be is how far are you flying?
Yeah. I mean, this would
Um,
be. I would probably.
What is
Go
I think it's like 3 people. Is it 3 people to man a Redeemer? Like fully,
Fully
or
manned?
is
I
it
don't know.
4?
What's the count on the Redeemer now? Since
I
they
think
reworked
you
it, I
got
don't know what it is.
I think
You
you've got
guys
a
know?
pilot, co-pilot, and then 2 side guns, right? And then
4.
two
Okay, Togi says
two
4.
automated.
Okay, Togi says 4.
So yeah, you got 4 people.
Okay.
So now you got 8 people for out of the 2. Now those are very good ships, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
actually see them later in one of the stuff that I make.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got 2 of those ships, or you could have 8 light fighters. So the question is, if depending upon how far away you have to fly,
Right.
like say if you were just going to go from like Hurston to like to like Microtech,
Mm-hmm.
then you could really try to figure out like where you're where you're more concerned with. I
Okay.
mean, certainly a light fighter wouldn't have the hit on DPS of like attacking something larger than say
Mm-hmm.
another light fighter. But usually light fighters would actually go in, or other type of fighters would actually go in and try to intercept you. You wouldn't see like say a Perseus go after that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think those get size 5s on the Redeemer.
Right.
So that's my only question really. I mean it's if they can line up, they got defense. I question if you need another one. Because
Okay.
you'd have like one in the front, one in the back, maybe one on top, maybe one on the bottom. You'd have to figure that out.
Okay.
One of those vessels are not going to get equal support at least. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my take on that.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like Stunner's saying the same thing. I would like to say 3 of them. Each one is vulnerable if an attacker gets behind and above it. Yeah. And I picked the Redeemers, one because they're They're fairly maneuverable. This is dealing with atmospheric flight too. We're not dealing with space flight with these. So I'm figuring if these are bombers coming in, they're going in for a hard target somewhere. Obviously, that's probably, I'm not thinking about troops or anything like that, but a hard target. So whether it's like a distribution center level thing or whatever, I don't know. But I could see adding that third Redeemer in the rear or something like that, just to make sure they're covered. Like I said, they've got plenty of underneath type of defenses with their guns, but the top is their vulnerability. Okay, that's
now
cool.
that you're dealing with 12 people, should you pull in a hammerhead?
No, not for atmospheric. I don't know if I would do that for atmospheric, because if in space it's different. In atmospheric, I don't know how well the hammerhead is gonna, fighters are coming in, and then if everybody's maneuvering, I don't know. That would.
What if you coated the hammerhead in feathers? Would that help?
helped it out a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. All right, let's look at Admiral's next scenario that he's got coming up here. Okay. Oh, okay. Stealth bombing run.
Stealth bombing run.
All right, give us a scoop on this.
You're going to see right now, it actually is the biggest thing that I see in Star Citizen. And really it's in military warfare right now. It's being able to detect and being able to not be detected.
Okay.
You've got AWACS planes. Everybody knows a little spinny thing on top of that plane. That's an AWACS. And everybody knows the stealth bombers, B-2, the F-117, the F-22, the F-35. All of these, to include the Terrapin, are all stealth. The Saber was created specifically for stealth, unlike I think the Hornet stealth ship was actually, which was modified to be stealth. So the idea here is to have the Terrapin go out and be able to get that those appropriate radar signatures, so it gets to lay the land and has a lot better capability to see further out, see what the threats are, and then you bring in the Eclipses to do what they have to do, and then the Sabers are there to deal with anything that is a threat. That way you have some good DPS on those without losing anybody. My concern here is losing a ship, whether it be an Eclipse or whether it be a Terrapin. I want everybody to get home, so I decided to bring 3 fighters because I'm not trying to just blow through an entire fighter line here. These aren't going to survive long.
Right.
So, but the idea here is to try to take out stuff quick and get everybody back into QT after a mission. Because my only concern here is whatever their target is to have rounds on target and to be a successful mission. I'm not trying to do any other fist bumping and other type of measuring. So that's my goal. And if I can get there and put rounds on target and have nobody needing to get medical resed or something like that, it's a good day.
Okay.
And that Terrapin, I'll tell you that right now, that Terrapin can get 10 clicks. I think between 10 and 15 clicks from Jumptown, and nobody sees you. That's how good that is.
Okay.
I've been able to put my side door down in the air and see the ships at Jumptown with the Terrapin, and nobody saw me.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so I think that was about 15 clicks.
I'm still pretty excited to see what. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Terrapin ultimately, once they get all the scanning capabilities and stuff into it. I'm really excited to see what that ship is going to do in relation to reconnaissance. And I know we have other ships like the Tracker and stuff, but this one in particular, the impression that they gave us was, for intel type things and stuff like that this would be the ship to go with. So I'm excited about that one. But I like that, especially the fact that, once again, now mind you, folks, some of the stuff that we're going to show you all today has way more to do with what the game is supposed to be. And I got to be real careful with this, gang, because, a lot of times we operate the ships based on how they work right now, which in right now means, to me, it means nothing. It means something in the sense of gameplay now, but what they're supposed to do by specification, a lot of that stuff's not there. And so a lot of what we're going to be showing you today is based upon what these ships are supposed to be capable of doing. For example, by picking the Sabers are supposed to be much more stealthier ship. Obviously, the Eclipses are too, even though we know a lot of times that stuff Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, but I just want to say that ahead of time because it's very easy to talk about what we can do in the game right now, but later on when stuff is in, that stuff may not fly anymore. So I just want to kind of keep that in mind. Okay, Admiral, you gave me your number. That was your number 2, right? So
That was number 2.
I've got to go
75
to
more to go.
Okay, so this is one I put together to ask a question about more than the fact that I have an answer for. Okay, and it has to do with this. Okay, Medical Squadron. In chat, you guys can chime in. If this was going out to help someone, right, help an org or help a group, what would you go with to help them? Like, what would you escort? What would you assign to them to make sure that they could get safely there and safely back? I'm more than happy to hear that. What do you think, Admiral? Now, take into consideration. I'm just saying, take into consideration. These ships have their own. They do have their own weaponry and stuff, But once you've got patience on your ship, I don't know how much going into battle you're going to be into. So, how would you escort?
So,
these?
what type of like missions are you doing? Are you doing like a bunker?
I'm just saying
mission?
A rescue mission, right? Someone's called and say, "Hey, we need somebody to get in here and get us out of here." Would you send them in like that themselves, or would you assign someone to fly them in and fly them out?
I try to get information on the situation so you could determine what your response needs to be. It's kind of like calling up the fire department and saying, "Hey, I just broke my leg. I fell off a ladder." And then, hey, I just saw a house blow up. I think I need like every fire truck in the. All right.
So we've got 9 people. We've got 9 people down. We were doing assault on a bunker. That's the scenario. We need somebody to pick them up. Their dropship is gone. So
yeah, I think that's a pretty decent. Pull. You get some.
Are they safe like that, or do they need something more? Is what I'm asking.
Well, if it's a bunker, then they don't really have. They shouldn't have to worry about too many like aerial combat stuff.
Okay.
Could bring in. It's a tricky one. You would pick one that I didn't even touch base on.
Okay.
I feel like a little stumped because it's that one time, like, okay, so people don't know, right? We got destroyed at a bunker, and we told the whole stream like we need help. Like everybody in the party was down. I think we had like 7, 8 people, and we kept telling people like, and they're like, how much ammo should we bring? And we're like, bring all the ammo, like every piece of ammo you have. It probably won't be enough because we were getting wrecked.
Right.
And people started showing up to rescue us, and they started getting taken out.
Right.
And it was like, and then the rescuers needed rescuing. It was hilarious. We were doing that for like almost 2 hours.
It was a long time.
So it was a long time. Now the Apollo should have a rescue bed with it, where you can just kind of has like a little sled and then pick a person up and it flies away or whatever, some type of Xeon, whatever it is. I don't know if it is Xeon. I'm just making crap up now. But the other ones, you should have 4 people with that for the cuddies because of the co-pilot. Like I don't know if you need one for the spotlight. Isn't that like I think the third person's the spotlight. And then the other Apollo has like 4 people. Yeah. And as long as you're decent equipped, you should be okay with that. To be frank, and it'd probably be okay to like deal with what we dealt with that night in that bunker because it was absurd.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of way I'm looking at that. And maybe you could even take one of those ships away because it's a centralized location, and you're not really expecting anything to be like attacking you from like it's not like a hot zone. It's not like you're just going in there and there's missiles flying all over and like some like Civil War like glory stuff with missiles and bombs and fireworks going off in the background.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go to your next scenario then. Set that one down. Go to Admiral's next one. Oh,
this one's easy.
Oh,
this one's easy.
Okay. This is patrolling again, but on a bigger scale, huh?
On a bigger scale. You've got a lot more people in here, and you've got the fighters, which are kind of just providing that support to the Idris. Again, I'm trying to hit like the fact that the logistics of something like this far outweighs like the support that just a couple fighters have, or if you were going to, bring in like 3 or 4 other like medium-sized vessels, like if you had like a redeemer itself, if you had partially crewed redeemers and partially crewed idrises that aren't really what you need. You need to try to deal with the focus is doing these things the best you can. You can AI slave, a few of this
Let's
stuff.
stay away from
And,
AI. Let's just stay away from
yeah,
AI
yeah,
here
I'm just
because we
saying,
don't know what
I'm
it's
just
going
saying
to
that.
be.
But I'm just showing like this is the basic. This is what's supposed to be coming. And, this is how it is. And we've heard word. Everybody talks about, look, how many Furies can you get into an Idris? Oh, I saw some guy put 47 Furies in there.
Right.
I'm like, not really sure you want to deal with something like that. The logistics of that is going to be you're just going to have destroyed crap everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think if you can support and maintain a vessel like this in this formation, and you can make this like, hey, we go out, we're able to afford this. We can actually do the maintenance on it when we get back. We can go out in the field for weeks upon time if you want to do that type of gameplay. Then you could be like one of the top players, I think, in the game, because people just won't know how to do that. They just won't be that proficient where they can just go out and have a group of people that are that tight knit to be able to maintain this thing like people should. Like there are people's like, oh, I'm just gonna have like 4 people on my Idris. We'll have 20 Idrises and that'd be awesome, and that's our org.
Well, let me
It's
ask you a
like,
question.
okay,
Let
cool.
me ask you a question.
Yeah, hit me.
What do you?
Hold on,
I don't know
water,
what I can't tell what all that is you have there. You've got the Idris. Are those 3 gladiuses? 3 Idri, and then is that 3 gladiuses?
Yep, 3 gladiuses.
And what are the other 2? Because I can't. It's so, my screen is small.
This
so you
little
have to tell
thing?
me. Yeah, what's that?
This is MPU.
Oh, it's MPUV. Okay, got it. Okay, I thought the other one was a 4th thing. That's just the name of the Idris. Okay,
No,
cool.
no, that's just the name of the Idris. So,
okay.
But and why do I have the cargo? Because the stupid thing doesn't like to. It's not cheap to land. So,
Yeah.
that's why I picked something
And I think that those ships actually. I think that ship contains 3 of those. I can't remember.
I think it's just one. I think
No.
the
There's
Javelin picks.
Whoa.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
I thought that on the flight deck there were slots on the sides for those, or is that the Javelin?
I haven't been in an Idris before, Griffin. I don't know.
You haven't been in it? Oh, okay.
I'm saving it up for Squadron 42.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe one of you guys in chat remember, but I thought that that they had those MPUVs parked on the side in the hangars. Does anybody remember? Because I'm pretty sure when they showed that trailer of when the crooks, that time when they picked up the criminals and brought them in, they had them inside there. So, but yeah, that's fair. Okay.
I just know it has that one that opens up like Aliens, and it's like the bottom opens up and then the lights are going off. It's like, oh, it's like Aliens when they do the drop ship scene. I'm like, that's so awesome.
Right. Okay. All right, cool.
But again, I just love this ship. I love all the stuff that they're doing. I would like to see proficient fleet, and operations, and hey, Gladius 1, you're good to go. I'm not big on what is it called when you do it? Not lore, role play. I'm not big on role play, but I am big on kind of trying to do it like semi role play, I guess, or just make something that makes sense. I guess I don't know.
That's fair. Okay.
Just not messy. You should see my room. Super messy. I don't want to have messy operations in a video game because my life is messy as it is.
All right, gang. So this one here I have is for a mining operation. Now, mind you, we know that mining operations can be smaller than this, but this is one where I'm kind of engaging what would be a small org or small group of people that would go out to do a mining op. Now, mind you, I have no defensive or offensive capabilities or in the sense of any protection here in this particular scenario. So, but this is what I would call a mining operation. Now, the question would be whether or not, should there be some escorts with them? Some people would say yes. Some people might say no. Some people might say, hey, I'm willing to take a chance with just this and have my crew because we're a mining group. So I would love to hear what you guys think about that. 2 prospectors, a hull A, an expanse, or a C1. And I actually have the C1 or the hull A there as a matter of preference. There are some people who are a little nervous about having cargo outside of their ship, like on a hull A or any of the hull series. But loading times are extremely fast with a ship like that versus a Spirit where everything is secured inside. But it would take more finagling and finessing to get things set up inside of that ship. So any thoughts on this? What would you, Admiral, do you think that, first of all, does this look okay for a small mining operation? Secondly, what if they're going to be escorts, what would you assign to this?
Again, everything's based off of like distance that you would have to travel to said
Well, this is
location if you did want to use distance.
small operation
No, no,
within
no,
a
no, but I'm
system.
just saying if you had to
I don't want,
travel.
yeah, but listen, I don't want to make it complicated. It's in
No,
a
no, no,
system.
but you're not going to use an arrow if you got to go far to, because if say you're like in the middle of like nowhere. I know you like doing asteroid mining, right? Is this asteroid mining by the way, or
it could be
space mining?
I would not put this in an outer rim scenario. This would be in a system that is populated. Like even Stanton, for example, has a huge asteroid belt that runs through it, and you could take an arrow out there. So let's just use. I'm not worried about distance as much as I'm worried about. And believe me, if it's an outer rim thing, like when we get to the thing I've got with the Orion, yes, your point will be well made there. But I'm saying in this particular scenario, small operation, they're just mining a belt somewhere, right? Or mining on a planetary surface, whatever the case may be. Is there anything that you would assign to a system as far as escort?
Well, I'm big into having radar systems around.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That way I could see what's going on. And
Okay.
that's probably like if you really didn't want escorts,
Mhm.
then that's like the one ship I would probably add to that. Is just put like a terrapin or a tracker there.
Just to say
just
pull up
so-
and get out if you need to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like hey, because you don't need when you talk about ship operations, you don't need like to have medical ships if you're never in the area to get blown up. If you're just doing industrial stuff, heavy industrial, then like, hey, there's something coming this way from here. Okay, let's shoot this way to zone 2 where we were going to go later, and just do that early, and then you just keep on working because the whole thing is just to make money. You're there to make money, not to like get into like stupid fights and you lose all the stuff that you just mined. So I think having having a better view or overview of the situation is always the best case scenario.
Yeah. And Jade says the same thing here, to have an exploration ship or a ship for scanning. Most people who do mining, not most, a lot of people who do mining, their attitude is not when it comes to flight, it's flee, right? Because their losses are too great to take on if anything's going on. Most miners, if they're out there, they see anything pop up on their radar screen, they stop what they're doing and they move, because it's not worth hanging around to see whether or not whatever's coming my direction is going to be friend or foe. So to your point, having something like a tracker or something that has good scanning capabilities, just to be able to give people a warning, hey, there's somebody 20 clicks out or 50 clicks out. These people know whether it's just time to move to another location, right? And become invisible as quickly as possible. That's another option, Okay. All right.
Besides that, you could add a couple. You could add a couple, escorts if you wanted to, but I think that as you is because it's kind of like low profile type of stuff. And I think you'd be okay doing that. You probably have to use some tractor beaming with your with probably people outside the ship, going from the refining and then the prospector down and then to the ship. That's I'm dealing with the same situation, a couple things, so it's fine.
Revakara said, I take the raft instead of the whole A with the massive flat external grid. It now outclasses the A. And I would agree with you, Revakara. I think it's a matter of preference. And I'll tell you why I wouldn't take the raft or why I think the raft would not be good. And this is, again, projected into the future. The better also benefit of the raft is that the raft has a tractor beam on it. And to Admiral's point, all these other ships, except for the Spirit C1, if you're going to use the hull A, somebody has to get out with a tractor beam and move those cargo containers off of the Expanse onto the hull A. That does take time, and it puts somebody out in space, right? Where with the raft or the C1, they both have tractor beams, so no one has to be out in space to do it. Now, here's the negative. MISC ships have the best hulls out of any ships in the game. Their technology is supposed to be where they can take on stuff that other ships can't. And a raft is not a very fast and maneuverable ship where a hull A is if it needs to get out. So I think it'll be, once again, I think these are preferences, not that one's better than the other, because I could definitely see using a raft also. Also, you get an extra 32 SCU using the raft, right, which you don't get using the hull A or even the Spirit C1. So again, these are scenarios, and I could have probably put the raft on here as another option. So I would think that's another good one too. Okay. Raft is supposed to be more armored than Misk. Where'd you hear that at, Togi? I ain't heard that nowhere.
That's just because the metal just pushed on there and glued up. It's just giant plates that just push it up there.
Yeah. Now they did just do a buff to the raft to make it more maneuverable and faster, because before it was definitely sluggish. I haven't tried it out yet, but I do know that in space, if you need to get away fast, you can get away pretty quick. But anyway, it's just another scenario. Okay, let's take a look at yours, Admiral. What you got next?
I got nothing. I give up. I'm going home.
Okay. What's this one now? Medium military fleet. Okay. What you got?
Okay, what do I have?
What's out there?
All right, well, I got the Polaris #1, which I think is it's an interesting ship. Torpedoes cost too much, but that's why I get it. Then I get the Hammerhead and 2 Paladins, and I got a Terrapin. I picked, it was funny because I know we talked about this the other night. I think it was Zombie pick perhaps, or maybe Captain Jones. But we were talking about putting the Eclipse in there, and I went back and I'm like, oh yeah, Eclipse is kind of nice, it's stealth. But then I'm like, oh wait a minute, I want to see further away. So again, it's that whole thing of being able to get close to your target or a target, because maybe it's just searching for something. And then I thought, well, then it's a fixed point. The Terrapin's at a fixed point, right? I can literally then jump the Polaris and its little fleet here to exactly that point, and it knows what it's going to see there anyways. So if the Terrapin can see, say, even just 20 clicks away, like half the distance, then the Polaris gets in there and it's like immediate boom. And the thing with having some type of like stealth capability, which would then give the Polaris stealth capability to be that, being able to come that distance and be able to surprise them like that, it's that the effect that it has for the surprise on the adversary. Like you might have someone watching YouTube video who's just screwing off in some unit, some place on let's say an Idris or another Polaris or something like that, or they might be taking a break between missions or whatever you have, or there could be NPCs. But let's just say they're real players. You just have like that, like an extra, say, 30% chance to kill them, to get an extra 30% over anybody else. Just because you're quicker and surprise them is huge, and is absolutely huge. So I cannot, so that's why I have the Terrapin. And then for fighter support, I've got the Hammerhead and the Paladin. Now, how would I use this here? What I would do is kind of sandwich them. I would sandwich the Paladin. So you
have
like,
let me back a second. Are you saying fighter support, or are we talking about defensive
fighter
protection
defense
for
against the fighter protection?
Okay. All right,
so
gotcha.
I would probably try to do like some type of like sandwiching the Polaris with those other 3 ships, because I would probably try to do something like that. Or a mix of that, depending upon how many there are, and so forth. But it comes to communication, using those channels we mentioned before for the pilots in those ships, so they each know what they're doing. And a lot of the times you'll see, this is what drives me crazy with pilots today in Star Citizen, is that you've got these pilots in these big ships, and they fly it like it's a goddamn fighter plane, right? Or a fighter ship or something like that. Like, oh, I got to turn this way and get this maneuverability. It's like, Jesus Christ, the turret is supposed to be like tracking this guy, and by you turning and the turret operator has to work like twice as hard to maintain, to stay on that guy. Now the turret be like, hey, can you bank 15 degrees to the right? Sure, that makes sense. You could do that. But people, when you do like you're doing flips and crap, it's like no. Like, you got to think like a B-29 bomber, World War II. The thing's kind of steady and straight, so that the turrets can go all around it. I mean, a lot of people here have watched Memphis Belle and other and other movies like that. And yes, the fighter will come by and it'll go that way, but eventually it'll come back and you get to shoot at it again. So this isn't like, just do your role. And I think if you had the proper communication between all these ships, the Terrapin would probably be put away by now or hiding somewhere. But I think it would be easily be able to survive pretty good, because what you have is good defense against the fighters and good defense against any heavy ship, like anything from a capital, subcapital, and below. We
The
don't really talk
Hammerhead.
about sub-capital ships, but
All right, the
they-
Hammerhead I
they
get.
exist.
I'm not sure about the capabilities of the Paladin yet, just because I don't know enough about it. But if that's another alternative that could help against fighters, I just don't, because we haven't seen it. I just don't know what it's supposed to do in that scenario. But I do understand the Hammerhead going in with the Polaris along with the Terrapin. That all makes sense. Togi posted some information there about the Wrath. And Togi, I hear you. Don't get me wrong. I know the Argo ships are built solid. I just, you know, this is the problem too. I'm basing it on lore, and lore could be absolutely nothing, right? About Misk and their armor and the Xi'an technology, and ultimately it can be nothing. But I do know that, like, when they talk about like the Endeavor, and they're talking about those ships being a meteorite storm they can go through. I'm not sure a raft could do that, but I'll take the fact that they say that it's tough, you know, in the sense of its thing. I just always took it that Misk has the hardest armor, probably in general, out of all of the manufacturers. But, you know, if they say it's that tough, and you know, it's interesting too. I've never really been in a raft and gotten attacked by somebody, so I don't know if it's I don't even know what the specs are on that ship as far as shielding and everything. So maybe it is good. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to check it out and see. The whole point of the raft is armored cargo. But that's not armored cargo. All the cargo's exposed on it. I don't know.
Yeah, now definitely exposed now.
Yeah, I know that's what it says, but I'm saying the cargo's always been exposed on it. I mean, the ship is armored, but not the car. Well, maybe so. Yeah, I don't know, because the shield
covered, not all of it.
Well, you know what? They did change the way I think CIG said they're going to change the way shielding works on the Hull series ships. I can't remember whether or not the cargo. Does anybody remember? Is the cargo stuff covered by the shield?
I know you said. Yeah, I don't think so.
Remember they talked about that they were going to just only do it around the ship.
I think so. I agree with that. It'd be nice if they changed it. So, but we'll see.
I can't remember. Anyway, okay. Well, that's another scenario. Cargo is not.
Okay,
thanks, Jay. Yeah.
I'll finish up with. So the Paladin's got the size. I think they're quad size 5s on top right now.
Yeah.
And that has a spine that can go down to the bottom like a it's a stupid X-wing fighter thing called.
But is that thing going to be maneuverable? That thing's like the size of a freaking Valk. I mean, is it supposed to be?
If you lean to the right in your chair, you can get more yaw.
Yeah, right. I'm just surprised you picked those over fighters. That's what's throwing me off. I'm just surprised that you didn't pick something like the freaking Warden series or something. Some deep, heavy range fighters versus those. And I'm not against it. It's just an interesting pick. Yeah, because I don't know enough about the Paladin. That's all. You know.
I think when I looked at this, I thought of originally when I said the Polaris, I'm like, okay, I need to go distance. Polaris fits that. What can get me distance? Redeemer, or do I want something like kind of that's a little bit more, has more capability? I think this Paladin has a little bit more capability than the Redeemer, but
okay.
Yeah. So
okay. All right.
That's why I said that.
All right. Let's see. Reinforced advanced freight transport. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at let's see. That was your next scenario. Let me do whoa. I mean to grab that. I grabbed the ship instead of the scenario.
You gotta lock your canvas.
Yeah, I didn't. Thank you for telling me that, because I didn't lock it. Thank you. Let me do that now.
Engage lock.
There we go. Yeah. All right. So this one is what I call a medium mining operation. And again, by the way, these formations are not always just about escorts and stuff, or, having fighter ships around. The formations are also talking about when you're trying to do certain types of gameplay. And for me, this would be what I would consider, and there could be obvious modifications to this. It could be a mole and 2 prospectors. But in this particular case, I've got 2 moles, 2 expanses. I've got a F-7C Hornet tracker, and I also have a Hull B. This one, I definitely put the tracker in, where with my smaller group, I didn't do that. And the reason why is because I know when I'm out with other people and we're mining in a small group, if we see somebody come on our radar scope, we break camp. We just leave. In this scenario, though, I wanted to have extra range because mole operators have a whole process they have to do with getting down to their lasers, retracting their lasers, leaving the area, and all that other stuff. And also the expanses being out there. I'm not sure what the process is going to be for for them if they're refining. But if you've got the person who's in the back and they're doing work while doing the refining process, and if something were to come off, I don't know what the process is of how quickly it means for them to leave that process, get into their ship, track onto where they're going to jump to and get away. So I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity with early warning by bringing a Hornet tracker with you. The Hull B, if I'm remembering correctly, holds 384 SCU. And so I figured that would be another means. I'm putting the hulls to use basically when it comes to these type of operations, because the cargo containers or the mining containers can be placed on the ship very quickly and easily. This would, I would see Admiral probably be, it could be in localized space, but I think this would be maybe not outer rim type space or deep space, but I think it could be further out with these vehicles because they could go a little bit more on the range side of things. But that's what I have for medium mining operation. Is there anything else you would swap out for this for a mining operation, or are you okay with that setup?
I'm pretty much okay with that setup. I like your ship better than my ship that's upcoming, but we'll get there for your cargo. But I'm looking at mine because actually my next one has to do with mining.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, let's
Yeah,
go to
so
yours.
you have an expanse per mole, so that's really good because we don't really know how much can go through that.
Yeah, they do 96 if I'm remembering. I think it's 96 SCU that they do.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know enough really about the processing speed of the expanse. I know it's supposed to be reasonable, but I have no idea what that means. So we'll have to see when that comes out.
I do like your tracker. I'm very happy with the tracker.
The tracker. Okay. All right. I got one good in that time.
I was super happy about that.
All right.
I'm not sure if it's supposed to help with like finding minerals right now, but I mean certainly it's good for, ship detection.
Yeah. Okay. What you got?
See if I can come a little bit closer here.
That's a nice medium size. Oh, planetary, medium planetary. Okay.
Yeah. So I did 4 prospectors or a mole, either or, and I did 1 expanse, and I did the C1. I was thinking, do I need another C1? But I'm like, I don't need another C1. Why would I need another C1?
Okay.
But then I do question that. I did bring some Cyclone AAs because, again, this is a planetary or moon mining operation, so it's a physical location. That way, if the expanse is like on the ground or people are on the ground, then we have a little bit of time, a little bit of protection from anybody coming close. You've got the tracker again that kind of has the overwatch and can kind of go in between where the expanse is and where the prospectors are going or where they were at. Also, the cyclones can probably drive to where the prospectors are, depending upon how the distance they're going. But I mean, if they need to get picked up, they need to get picked up. It's fine. I do have sabers to go ahead.
I've got a flaw that might be here. How
the answer is no.
How are the cyclones getting there?
Well, they can drive. I mean, depends again however far they are. They can just drive. I mean, if I have to like pick up sticks at a location and then just drive, or the spirit can just drive me there.
Okay. See, if
when the spirit comes back for its like return trip from like dropping off its crap, right? It's going to have
pick them up. Okay.
So yeah, I can just do that.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
This is why I was thinking, like, do I need a second one? This is why I was like, do I need a second C1? I think I probably need a second C1. So that's why I was kind of like a little confused there.
Yeah, Togi, I was thinking that, but I was thinking like when they all leave, just everybody leaves together, And I was like, well, where are you going to put the trackers? But if he's saying they're going to all leave and then just leave the trackers behind and come back, then I'm like, okay. I mean, not trackers.
Not trackers,
cyclones, rather.
the cyclones.
I mean, the cyclones.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like,
leave the tracker.
once you fill up the C1 with cargo, how are you going to get the tumblers back in? But okay, that answers
there's a James Bond self-destruction thing. They just
you got to tell them to light a campfire.
They're so cheap, these vehicles. No one wants to buy these. They're like, they're only 25 UEC. Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
But that's debatable. And I have the sabers, so the sabers are there for escorts for the C1 coming and going. Low signatures, just get them up to the point where they can jump and kind of be around if needed. Again, just so that if something does happen, they can engage somebody really quick to get prospectors and the expanse and all these other things like the Vulcan, which is like out of the area. And then the Vulcan, of course, because you've got stuff flying, and I don't want to move my prospectors off the job site, or the Sabers or the Tracker or any of these ships. I can just have the Vulcan come and refuel them all, and then that one ship can just get refueled when it needs to, or get more fuel when it needs to. So everything is, you want everything moving in a nice way.
Okay.
Cyclones, I'll put jetpacks on it. It'll be fine. I'll have the new Atlas little biped walkers. They'll grab them and jump them up, and they'll be all set.
Okay. And then
I
again,
digress with that one.
Yeah. And this is again for planetary operations. Okay. Very cool. All right. Listen, we're at the top of our hour, and you guys know when we're at the top of the hour, it's time for us to do a very quick commercial break. So we are going to do that. And then when we come back, we're going to pick up with some more, probably a little bit more larger scale and some more interesting type of scenarios. So thank you guys. Thanks for so much for putting the stuff in the chat. I'm kind of reading everything that folks are saying, which is kind of cool. Thanks for giving us some ideas and things and helping us out as we do this. So let's do this quick commercial break. And as soon as I find my commercial thing, where's my commercial thing? Oh, there it is. Okay. And then we'll be right back. Okay. So stick around. Okay, if you are watching this, then that means you are one of our subscribers and one of our supporters, and we truly, truly appreciate you being here with us today. We hope you are enjoying my time with Admiral. I was going to say Captain Kusanagi. I was going to demote him. Admiral Kusanagi. Oh my God. Hope you guys are enjoying our time together today as we talk about formation. Next week is Mother's Day weekend, so we will not be having a show next week. We're going to have a week off for everybody to take a little break. But when we come back that following week, we will be back with a show called Flare. What's it called? Flare. And we're going to be talking about Rare Flare. That's what it's called. Rare Flare. Talking about since they opened up this Emporium and some other stuff that's going on in the game, we're going to be talking about that. So hopefully you guys will join us for that week. But next week we are off. We also did a new episode of The Producers, which will be out tomorrow. If you're not a subscriber on Patreon or YouTube, you will see it tomorrow morning. It'll be available, so make sure you check that out as well. Okay. We are back. We are back, and we are going to pick up where we left off. Thank you all for being here today with us once again. We really appreciate it, and thanks again for all the comments and thoughts you guys are putting in the chat for us today. And let's hop to it there, Admiral. Let's go to the next thing that I think it was on me. This is a large operation. Now, I felt a little funny about this because this is the mining ship that we don't have yet in the game. And so we saw scenarios of this being used on planetary surfaces, and we saw scenarios of this being used in space. I really thought about this from a planetary thing. I forgot to put my rock in the back, so I meant to put a couple rocks back there. But I'm going to use this under a planetary scenario situation. I put a Hornet tracker in there, once again, not knowing. I know this is a multi-crew, multi-functional kind of mining operation where you've got different people doing different things. And so if there ever comes a time where there's an early warning where they need to go, I wanted to make sure that there would be fighters there to protect this ship. Also, for another reason, I mentioned this earlier about how miners, people who do mining and salvaging, have a lot to lose in two areas. One, it's their cargo. If they've been mining for several hours and are at 70% or 80%, the value of their cargo is usually pretty substantial. But the other thing is also that their ship is valuable. And for me, those fighters that are there, even though obviously it's great for those fighters to engage and eliminate the enemy, the other side of the coin is that they need to be able to buy that ship time to get away. That's probably their biggest role. Once the Arastra is free and gotten away, I would not expect them to hang around for a fight. I would expect them to get away too. If their egos want to stay behind and get killed, that's on them. They may win the fight, but their goal is to basically make sure that the Arastra gets away safely. And so that would be my thing for that. And obviously having the tracker there would be something that would be helpful. What do you think there, Admiral?
I think it's pretty good. So, like, what type of this is to be a mining operation, like just out in space type of thing?
This is the planetary one, just a planetary. I forgot to put the rocks on there, but if they just landed on the surface and we're doing some mining, you know. And I guess
Yeah, I
it
mean
could
that's
work in
that's
space
perfectly
too.
it's perfectly good for that ship. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to be on the ground, I'm not sure how long it takes to get off, but
Yeah.
I really haven't. It was funny because I was looking at that on the thing, and I'm like, the Arastra. I'm like, should I put the Arastra? I'm like, I don't even know what that thing does anymore.
Right. I
I
know.
need to look at the PDF and like study it. So I stayed away from it. So, but it's cool that you kind of brought it up to like remind people it's actually a thing. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to it. But I think that's a pretty good thing. Again, Overwatch. I mean, these bigger ships they usually have their own good radar systems,
Mm-hmm.
but to be able to like double the eyes, I guess, on anything when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the importance of detecting threats. I think that's kind of really nice to have the extra tracker there. So
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's see what Admiral's got next here. Boom. Oh, small mining operation. All right. What do we got here? Oh, and salvage. Nice.
I get two. I get small.
Okay.
I want to just impart upon very small orgs or a small group of friends that they
Mm-hmm.
too, can do stuff on their own without having to be in a big org
Mm-hmm.
and to do things a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah.
So I put these are just these are just 4-person things. Each one of these of Paramount is the tracker again, and then the hull A, and then and it's pretty self evident what I'm going at here. But I did
Mm-hmm.
want to impart upon the one or two people, the small amount of people that trying to place as close to solo as they're trying,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
if they just did a little bit extra and maybe bring a couple, if they're friends or if they get
Mm-hmm.
to know somebody, then they can still do like more efficient stuff that's safer for them, for their character, that they hopefully learn to love,
Mm-hmm.
and they can do it a little bit better. So that's why I put these here for that. Yeah.
Well, what's cool about that is what even if you didn't use two, like even if you did just one prospector in a hull
Right.
A and thing, it works that way too. And if you've got a second friend, especially a lot of times people will go out with two prospectors because if they want to get the larger rocks, right, but they don't have access to a mole, they'll take 2 or even 3 prospectors. So I think that works fine. Either scenario, like you said, it works
Yeah,
for the
I've done. I
small
mean, I
group.
could pull it up here, and I've
Mm-hmm.
done 3 prospectors, and I don't think the
Mm-hmm.
Hull A was out. Excuse me, what's out now? Yeah, the Hull's A now out now. But
Uh-huh.
we weren't thinking. I think back in those days, we weren't thinking about bringing like, oh God, I don't even know if you could pull off the pods back then.
Yeah.
But or either way, it's just I think this is you could do 2 or 3 or 1.
Yeah.
And then it's just and let's say you had 2 ships, right? So you had one ship that if you found a good group of ore and then you were full and you're like, oh crap, I have to leave, I have to I'm all filled up. It's like, well, you have a good thing of ore. If you had just one extra person there, whether it be in a
Mm-hmm.
tracker or another prospector, you at
Mm-hmm.
least know where to come back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like where at least having one extra friend here in Star Citizen would be beneficial
Be
for you.
nice. Yeah, it would be nice. Okay. I'm digging that. Very cool. Very cool. Alrighty. Let's take a look at the next one I have. Ooh, boy. This is a large, extra large. I'm sorry. The last one was a large. This is an extra large mining operation. This would be deep space related. And there would have to be some logistics involved in something like this, with the Orion being the mining ship, also having 2 hull Cs. I did not go with a hull D or a hull E for just an Orion. Orion has storage on itself and it does refining and everything, but we don't know what the processing speed of that is going to be. So hull Cs, as you guys know, are considered the workhorse of the game when it comes to cargo hauling and moving. And so with them both carrying combined over 9,000 or close to 9,000 SCU, that's a lot of cargo. Also, splitting up the items is better from taking a loss versus having one big ship and losing everything. Sometimes it's a matter of patience and time. A lot of times people try to maximize what they're doing all in one thing, but your risk factors go up too. To sit and wait for a hull E to get loaded up you're waiting a lot of time, and to me, I don't like doing that. In Eve, I didn't do that. I would mine a certain level of something and get it out, and even if it cost me fuel going back and forth, it was cheaper than if I were to lose my ship trying to get away with large amounts of material, which makes you're very vulnerable at that point. So I do have long range fighters here. There are wardens, I think. Yeah, there are Vanguard wardens there that are protecting. We could have used some other things like harbingers, but you get the general idea. Just some type of heavy fighter that's there to help also. And then also there is a terrapin there to do, as Admiral said earlier, you want to get as much distant early warning as you possibly can. This ship would be operating in probably an asteroid belt, which means maneuverability is very limited. But the Orion is a very formidable tank. It is a monster, and it has very good defensive weapons on it to protect itself. But again, trying to get out of an asteroid belt safely and getting clear so that you can make a jump would be probably one of the biggest factors with this ship. And those fighters would be there to help buy time for that to happen. Not to mention the fact that you also have the Hull Cs out there too, which also move like, as you guys know, for those of you who fly them, they're freight trains. So you need those fighters out there to help distract while they're trying to basically get out of there. But that's one of my big. Now we could have went bigger. Obviously, Admiral, you know that we could have had 2 or 3 Orions, but this is just a general scenario for the largest capital mining ship in the game. Okay.
So my question is, who are the harbingers for? The Orion or the hulls?
They're there just in general. I mean, I could probably increase that number. I mean, when you think about the amount of money you're making, you obviously could have had probably 4 of those things there. But for now, they're there just to make sure. Well, that's a good question. Well, look at it this way. That's why I said this is a logistics thing. Those hulls are not going to both be there. You're going to, what we used to do is this. While one hull was loading, one hull was delivering. And you were doing this the whole time, right? So it's not like you're going to have both hulls there and the Orion all at a given time. That other hull is not going to come out there until the first hull says, we're at 80% or 90%. You can start heading out this way. The idea is just to have an operation that's continually running. Okay. But I probably could throw a couple more fighters in there just for the heck of it, not to be cheap.
And that's to protect the Orion, right?
Yeah. That's another thing too that's interesting. Now that you say that, I would increase it. You know why? Because I would actually have someone escorting the hulls too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? When those hulls leave and they're going to station, I want 2 fighters to be with those hulls, carrying 4,000 SCU of something valuable, right? So I would probably increase it. Now that you mentioned it, we might be at like 6 fighters altogether when it's all said and done. So that's just a thought, We need to see
6 fighters when you're said and done.
Yeah, I'm saying I might increase that to two wardens for each of those ships. 2 for the Orion, 2 for each Hull C.
Okay.
I might do that. That might be a better scenario.
I do have a mining operation. It's similar to yours, but we'll see how similar when we get to it.
How similar or how different? Okay, let's see what you got.
How different.
Small cargo operations. Okay.
The next one is small. This is the last small one I have, guys. Well, maybe not. No, this is probably the last small one. Okay. So, again, same thing as before. There's the strength in numbers, and I just want to say, if you're doing cargo, you could have like one ship land, the other 2 like hover and kind of protect the first ship.
Yeah.
And then do it that way. That way everybody's protected. There's no big question mark here, but there's a bunch of very different type of ships that people might have. They might feel they're kind of more comfortable with, or they think is their type of gameplay. This is for all those Star Citizen package buyers who want to, or people who want to go from what do they call it when you go from small ships to the big ships on their own without having to spend money. Someone can remind me in chat what the hell that's called. But you know what I'm talking about, Griff? When you do all you have like your first ship, and then you buy your Mighty Black, and then after but in game, you're using in-game credits to go from 0 to hero. Yes, this is for your 0 to hero folks.
Gotcha.
And then, or in your package people who don't want to spend an extra dime on Star Citizen because it's taken 15 or 20 years to come out.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. But this is again for small operations, and so just think there's strength in numbers. So there's plenty of people in chat that will join you and other stuff like that. So
Okay.
and people can do missions together. So I just want to bring people together and
Okay.
to do eventually the big stuff if they want to
Mhm.
do that. So that's how you get them in.
The CL, the Corée, and the Nomad. Okay. Progression there. Makes sense. Okay.
And neither one of those has a shower. So go figure.
That's true. That's
The
true.
Nomad,
Only
which is supposed to be,
one has a
the
kitchen.
Nomad's got like these nice landing gear. It doesn't only has a
Yeah,
commode in the stupid thing.
it's got a kitchen. It's got a kitchen there. You can
No,
do
but it
that
has
at
a kitchen,
least.
but it doesn't have a. I don't think it has a shower. I think it
No
just has a
shower.
toilet.
No. Well, they're not intended for you
Like
to be on there for weeks on end, you know.
I need to see a shower hose outside so I can pull it out and like hose
Oh,
myself
God.
off like a Winnebago.
Okay. All right. My next one here is an Idris fleet. This
Uh-oh,
would
really?
be similar to you know, this one would be where we're going into battle for something, and obviously there's the protection dynamic of there's three gladiuses there, which would be internal on the Idris. They're there for that. But then I've got 2 Perseus and 2 Hammerheads. This is about you're roughly talking about 7, 4, 8, 16, 5, 20 is 10, 26, 27, 22, 9. Ooh, that's 29 people in those ships, and in the Idris, depending on how many people you put on there, 18 maybe. I don't know how many people can go on the Idris when it's all said and done, 12 to 18 people. So you got like a good org size for this, medium org, I guess it would be. And these ships are kind of popular. The Hammerheads are popular in the game. The Perseus many people who are excited about the Perseus, just like they're about the Polaris. The Gladius obviously is a popular ship, one of the ships that people will be flying in Squadron 42 in particular. And then, of course, there's a lot of anticipation for the Idris, one of the largest caps we got in the game at one point. So, to me, this is a battle fleet. I didn't put any other things in here. Like, I know we could have talked about things like trackers or ghosts or anything like that. Though to me, those are the extra things that you could probably add. But for right now, obviously the Hammerheads would be there to step up their role in protecting the Idris in particular. The Perseus is, I see them as fast attack craft. Even though I don't mean fast like fighters, y'all. I'm just talking about in relation to their size. I would consider them more like a destroyer or a fast crew. I'm not sure what the right title is, but you get my point. The Idris itself has been recently buffed to maneuver a little bit better, but it is still a beast of a ship to move. But that's my Idris piece right there. It's pretty straightforward. Any thought? What would you add to that, Admiral? Anything?
You don't have any Perseus. It's just you don't have any Polaris. It's just a Perseus,
No.
right?
Yep. Nope. No Polarises.
I wonder if you would kind of enjoy the support of a couple of Retaliators for
bombers.
a little extra punch if you needed it. And they, of course, they've got some fighter support of their own. Anti-fighter support with the turrets. And I know those are getting upgraded as well. That's kind of, I would even maybe have like 3 of those if you're not going to have a Polaris on hand. But that's kind of what I would. I mean, I know Z Doctor was like, "What? No bombers or medium heavy fighters." So I mean, you're pretty much covered from fighters near the Idris. I just kind of question what you're attacking and how close you want to get to it, really. And if they come in, like, what was that when we watched that stupid Chris Roberts movie, like a month ago?
War Wing Commander.
Wing Commander. He's like, give him the broadsides. Like, I don't know how close you want to. Yeah, I don't know how close you want to get to other ships like that. So
yeah.
I mean, the having the Perseus is there with the large size 7 turrets would be nice. I just kind of think maybe like some Retaliators would probably just kind of like make that a little bit more formidable if you just have one Idris there.
Yeah, Z Doctor, I would agree. Yeah, it is bare boned. Like I said, this is kind of a basic small fleet that we could always, I think, add to. I don't feel that is complete by any means. So you're absolutely right. But that's like this would be a starting point for me if I were to take an Idris out. Even though I know Idris could go out by itself, probably, with just a few other smaller things, like Admiral gave an example earlier. But maybe I'm a little bit more nervy-dervy if I'm going into battle. He gave it in a patrol scenario, so I'm giving this into more like if I'm going into battle. But, God knows how many things we can continue to add to build these out a little bit, But yes, you're absolutely right. It is definitely the skeleton, I guess you could say.
When you say battle fleet, I'm like, how big of a battle fleet are you looking at here?
No, I'm saying I'm saying it's going out to battle. Don't get caught up on my linguistics. I'm just saying
if you're
Idris is going out to fight, if I'm going out to fight.
Okay, but if your fleet is going to join like Kusanagi's fleet and Fist to Face fleet, and that would make sense.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because it's like, yeah,
that's what I mean. This is not intended to be a sole thing to itself. Again, I'm saying if I was taking an Idris out to go to battle, this is the basic stuff that I would have with it for me.
All right.
Now, you gave a patrolling scenario, which was different. I'm saying if I'm going out to go fight, I feel comfortable having a couple hammerheads escorting this thing and a couple of Perseuses with it. But I could always add, I could definitely add more things to it. Yeah.
I like your base model's nice. I do like your
base model. That's the best way of putting it. It's a base setup for going out for a fleet. Yeah. Okay, let's see what you got next. Let's see what the Admiral's got. Boom. Okay. What we got here? Heavy cargo operation. All right.
If I can move this.
Tell everybody what we got on this one now.
Great. Okay, so we got the Hull D, and I like this little checking the position here on the screen. So the Hull D, 2 Redeemers and 2 Guardians. So a lot of cargo, a lot of money in that. I don't want to lose any of it. The Hull D is designed for extensive, like long range stuff. So like probably so it's like planetary to planetary, like cargo stuff going. I mean, when I say that, I mean like some station to station, and they bring stuff down to the planet, like using the Hull B or the Hull A. But this is kind of like when you start getting into the big checkbook stuff. And so I decided I want 4 longer range vessels. And they both the Guardian and the Redeemer have size 2 radar. So that's actually a bigger size than the tracker. And so they both have decent very good radar. And the punch of the Redeemer is really good. The Redeemers would be the escort of the vessels. And the Guardians, which would go out based off of your recommendation of like, hey, would anybody do this? I'm like, oh yeah. The Guardians would actually jump to the first point. Now, at the beginning of the show, you showed the fleet like a hull jumping into an absolute shit show, some battle and stuff like that, and it was able to maneuver its way out of that. So that's the idea of having a group go beforehand to see like, hey, what's if I go from A to B, is it clear? Right. So, and I decided to use 2 just to give the other guy or a person support if they did find something, and they can kind of get each other out of there. I didn't want to send 1 and have them like fighting on their own. So that's why I did 2. So that's what this one is all about.
That's interesting. The doctor said that I would switch the Redeemers with Paladins, since the Redeemer is shifting to be a dropship rather than a heavy fighter. I wrestle with this one, Z Doctor, because I get your point. It's like the Redeemer, the Hoplite, these ships that they at one point labeled as drop ships, but then they're gunships. And like the Redeemer for me, I wrestle with it in space all the time. I don't know why. I don't know. It's like a weird hybrid. It's like some weird ship that, it's not like a everything ship. I just don't know how to always look at that ship. Yeah, and I don't know how it is against fighters now. I don't know, Admiral. I haven't been with anybody with a Redeemer in a while to see how it does. I know like at one point that thing was going against like hammerheads and taking them out, but I don't know what the status is. And if Togi's still out there, maybe he could tell us about that.
So number 1, the Redeemer has a variant that is a dropship. So that is one of the variants of a Redeemer. so they're I forget the name of it. It's a Redeemer something. I know there's a dropship version.
Yeah,
So I
but we
don't
don't
think
have it.
they're
But we
all
don't have that. We don't have that. You mean in
right.
lore?
So, well, I think they're gonna. People bought it, right? Didn't people buy the version of the Redeemer that has a like?
they're all
seats
still
downstairs?
dropships. No, they're all like that.
Are they all still dropship like that?
The rework,
hoplite.
yeah, the rework is like
Yeah,
that.
the hoplite.
No, the hoplite is a
So-
Warden variant. That's a Warden variant.
Yeah. Don't confuse me. Fast cart. God.
Fast cart, fast cart. What are you talking about? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying. I'm speaking from the perspective of how much the Redeemer has changed. I just don't know where it stands right now. You know, I'm not against it by any means. I'm just saying it's one of those ships that they've been finagling. You know, from changing the gun sizes to this. I just don't know where it lands. The Redeemer is a fan-made ship without variants, from what I remember. Yeah. There's no variant.
Listen,
That's fast cart.
I understand that. I understand the issues with the flat iron ship. Okay,
Yeah,
I call it.
right.
I think Jade knows this too. Because if you don't get it, the flat iron is like this, and you do your hair and you pull it. So that's a flat iron. So
yeah.
By
the way, let me give a shout out real
mention
quick.
the tack.
Hang on. Let me give a shout out real quick because I didn't get to do this earlier. Ratarid, thank you for the sub earlier. We really appreciate that.
Hey, Rat.
And Mr. Eighth, thank you also for the follow for joining us today. Appreciate you. Thank you
Mr.
for being
Eighth.
here. Yes.
Thank you very much for following.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm glad you saw Colossal's comment. What were you going to say?
He was just talking about like the tack. He's like, "Why don't you bring the tack?" And I'm like, "Well, tack's nice. It's got the med bay." And but I'm watching myself do that stupid hand thing.
The tack. No, that is not what that
Yeah,
ship
right?
is for. That's not what that
Yeah, and he's got the size 5s, but the size 5's like kind of like pointed down, like it's like a C-130J, you know. So it's a great ship. I have it, you know. It looks like great, but
not for defending. Not for defending.
It's not as maneuverable. I mean, certainly not as maneuverable as the Redeemer or the Guardian. So, but if you needed a med bay, I mean, I guess you could use it.
Yeah.
What else has a med bay? I don't think you need a med bay in this. I'm just going to throw that out the window. You don't need a med bay.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Good times. Good times.
Fair. All right. Let me mess up everybody's brain in the chat right now. I have to. My origin side of me had to come out for this show. All right. Yes. Now, don't y'all hate me. All right. Don't y'all hate me. All right. So, this is a VIP touring example, and this is a role play scenario, y'all. Okay. So please understand that, but it could be real. And this is an actual all origin setup. No other ships are in here. It's an 890 that has two 85Xs on board for whether it's to commute, move, transport people back and forth, or whether it's a point of whatever it is. That's what it's there for, because it can hold those. But then it's also surrounded by four 325As, interceptors, for defensive measures. Now, this would be a situation with more VIP than touring, that I would say. If there was someone that was very important that was on board the ship, or it was being used for command ship reasons, whatever. But this was just a quick scenario that I threw together in relation to the 890. We still don't know completely what the 890's defensive capabilities will be in the end. There's always the assumption that because ships like Origin ships or the 890 are expensive, they're wealthy, blah, 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 that they have all these great defensive measures. We know it has PDCs and things like that. We know it has missiles and some other things, but we don't know really. We look at the commercial and there's a whole battle going on while they're listening to opera. That could just all be marketing. I don't think these ships are going to be easily taken down in the long run. And again, these ships are not designed to be fighters. They're designed for touring and things of that nature, social spaces. But the reality is to get them out of there. That's the big thing. And so the 325s are there to distract, to engage, while the 890 is basically skipping town if something comes up. So that's that. What do you think, Admiral, on all origin based formation?
I see a giant red X over the entire formation. Dead group. No, I think it's a fun look at Origin. I think they need to fill out the numeric ships from the line. So I think we're missing the 700 and so forth.
Yeah.
and I don't know if the 85X would be good enough to fly like a say to shuttle up like new customers or up to the ship. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like you've got like
absolutely.
one co-pilot. What, we got to put some. Is there a trunk space I could throw my kid into? I don't understand. Like where you're supposed to put your spouse.
Well, it's
Where do
well,
you
that's just to it's you might be moving people down to a planetary surface or something like that. I mean, it's a thing that you
can the
could do.
890 can the 890 hold a 400i?
No.
Can't. Okay.
What people have been wanting, Origin owners have been wanting, is some type of shuttle similar to the type of shuttles that are on Crusader when you go from platform to
Right.
platform. We've been looking for something that works more
Yeah.
like a cruise ship where you've got like the what do you call those boats? Or the word just went off my tongue. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The boats that you use from going from shore to boat, but something that holds more than two people. A tender. Thank you, Citizen Ninja. A dinghy. No, Jade. A tender is what I was looking for. So yeah, we would want something that could hold 4, 8 people and move them back and forth to get them back and forth from the ship. That would be the thing. No, not a ferry, Colossal. Don't be funny. So we would want
He
to
said
ferry
a
them.
ferry.
We would want to ferry them in a tender, okay? But the 890 is, to Jade's point, is more like a dinghy because you just got the pilot and one passenger. But I understand what you're saying, Admiral. But we've always wanted something else that could move because there's like a waiting room when you come into the hangar. So if your guests want to leave the ship, you would want to take at least 4 to 8 people and be
Right.
able to
So
deliver.
that's kind of what I was thinking. Even the
Yeah.
400i can't do that because I think it
Mhm.
only holds like
It's
a
too
couple
big.
guests.
Yeah, yeah. The
So
400i is it's too big of a ship. There's really nothing that right now that we have that would do that particular job specifically. We've got other ships you could fit in there, but you know me. Anything else is blasphemous inside of an 890. So anyway, let's go
you
on to
could
your
take
next.
you could take the you could take that passenger. What was it that what's the MPUV passenger?
Oh
Um,
no, no, no. Well, yeah. Well,
you would love that.
well, here's the deal.
I'm telling you,
Interestingly
you could
enough,
do
that
that.
same pod,
I have a
that
picture of it
same
right here.
But here's the deal. That same pod is the pod that is the escape pods on the 890, right?
See, this is what you need, Griff. Is this vehicle here? This will help all your Origin needs.
You heard what I said,
And
right?
no, I know.
Yeah, it's the same pod.
Yeah, it's the same pod, actually.
That's on. Yeah, it's the same pod. It's just that it's orange on the Argos, right? But that thing, unfortunately, is very slow. Very slow. Very, very slow.
And it's a death trap. You'll die if someone finds you.
Yeah.
You'll definitely perish, and you will not come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at your next thing you got here. What do you got?
Okey-doke. This is my large ground assault. So this is like attacking an area, say like Jumptown or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to clear it out real quick, and then drop down people. So what I have here are an M2 for each transport, Centurion and a
Okay.
ballista per ship, Cyclone MT per ship, 2 of them, and then I'll have a Constellation Taurus to carry. Hold on, maybe I have to back up a bit. Oh. The Constellation Taurus for a for a Temporal Medical. I don't see it here. Because that I wanted the Temporal Medical. Maybe it's underneath the stupid Terrapin Medic. Whatever. I'm not going to mess with it now.
Okay.
And then so that way I'd have a separate medical vehicle for the ground crew. And then for the air, you've got the Valkyries would come in and have Terrapin medics that could actually fly in for them after the fact. And then I'd have the Spirit A1s. So how does this operation work?
Hang on a second.
Tracker comes in.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Do you struggle? I kept wanting to use the medical Terrapins, and I struggled. I like the defensive measures or capabilities of them.
Can't see that.
But what frustrates me about those is that they have one bed. And if you match them to the Valkyries that carry 20 soldiers, 20 troops, you got one medical bed. That's my frustration with the Terrapin. When that thing came out and they only had one bed in it, I was kind of like, y'all should have squeezed at least two in here, at least. And maybe I'm just weird about that, but the fact that it's a bigger version of a freaking C8R, and I wish that they had put two beds in it, because then you'd have the capability to deal with 4 wounded. Right now, your capability is 2 wounded, and that's it. With all those bodies out there, and that has nothing to do with you. I'm saying that's my issue with the thing. Oh, that's okay. Well, you got the super troops. I forgot. Okay, you got Starship Troopers. You got Starship Troopers on board, so nobody's going down. I got you.
Well, you're either getting hurt or you're doing the Rico, and you're like, you gotta do a Rico, and you like just blow him away, and then he's like, okay, no point resing that guy. He's gonna show up at the hospital.
Yeah.
Man,
but I like the Terrapin. I just wish they had an extra bed. But I think it is the appropriate ship for this type of scenario. It just needs to have an extra bed in it, Anyway, go ahead.
I got 2 things. So the Taurus, right? Sorry, guys. Apologies. The Taurus is supposed to have 2 vehicles. It's supposed to have the medic, and it's supposed to have the Tumbril or the Cyclone tracker dish. So you have a ground tracker. So the idea would be the tracker comes in, the air tracker, the Hornet comes in, checks that the group the M2s can jump into the orbit, and then it follows them down, drops off all the vehicles. Then the ground vehicles will go towards the area of question with the ground radar support. And once they're in a position to kind of get ready to assault, then the A1s come in, because then you have that ground radar to figure out what's there. Like, hey, what type of issues do we have there? Anything on the ground? Any Nova tanks that we have to take out, so forth. And then those A1s come in, and then they kind of do low and fast, nice low and fast, and they please God have pilots that know how to drop these things. And then they should be able to do 1 pass over this thing and drop 2 big bombs. Hopefully you can get 4, but probably just 1 per. And then after that, then the vehicles go in. Then the vehicles set up, like the ballistas, Centurions, and so forth. Cyclones do supporting roles for those vehicles, and then maybe take up like long range positions to kind of give firing support, while the Valkyries come in and drop off the troops, and then dust off. And
I missed the Taurus. What's the Taurus doing?
Taurus drops in the 2 vehicles that aren't listed. So you get the medical Cyclone, right? Okay. Medical Ursa medical.
Ursa,
and then the Cyclone RC. I think not the RC. It's the other one. Whatever the hell thing is.
Gotcha.
I actually zoomed out to see if I could find it here. It's not. It's probably under one of the other stupid ships.
Okay.
So I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay.
It's there in thoughts and prayers. But that's
that's fair. That's fair.
That's the idea. When you use the attack over the Taurus, not just for those ships, it's not big enough to get those 2. I mean, if anything, I could use attack for the Valkyrie. I just don't see the need to replace that. I can get more people in with a Valkyrie.
See, I mean, for a ground assault operation,
I'm not staying there. I'm just attacking, blowing up. I know.
Getting out.
No, where the hell is this? Z Doctor, you're gonna like me in a few minutes. Don't worry. And the prisoner no talks again, trying to knock out the talks with the A1s, and then prevent talks from getting back on the ground. So that was my goal here, is to take out the talks with the air support, and then not have to worry about them. But if I needed to, I could probably take them out with some other stuff. I know the Valkyries could probably do a couple sweeps and take them out, or the A1s could come back. But the ballistas and the Centurions need to get set up to take out any air support. And then once that's taken care of, then it's okay. It could be maybe 1 more M2 for maybe 2 talks if I really need them. I just don't think that's really needed in like a situation like that.
Yeah. Okay. Okie dokie. I got nothing on that one. That was my only question, was about the Terrapin, so that's cool. Boom. Here we go. This is a scenario that we've talked about for years, and it's what does it take to escort a hull E? Um,
Hope and
and
prayer.
so yeah, I know. A hull E is what 96 or 98,000 SEU, some ridiculous amount of these traveling. And so what I have here is the hull E along with a Sentinel down here in the front. We've got a Sentinel, and then we have 2 Guardians, and then we have 2 Vanguard Harbingers there. The Sentinel's role is that of a lead. Whenever we've gone out, and I'm sure some of you have done this before, maybe you have or haven't. Whenever we take a hull C out and it's very much loaded, we send someone ahead of us. We may give them a 30-second or 1-minute lead on us so that they reach a destination before us, and they basically let us know whether or not it's safe to come out of Quantum in that area. And if they say, nah, this isn't good to pull into this station, we know not to come into that area. And so the Sentinel would be that. That would be, it has E-warfare capabilities. So even if someone were to jump in, hopefully they would be able to use their E-war capabilities to allow the hull to evacuate, get away, or do whatever it needs to do. The Guardians are there also with those are the Quees, whatever, with their electronic capabilities as well. And then the Harbingers are there, and we went with the Harbingers this time because they do have size 5s on them, so that they can help keep some things off at a distance, distract until the whole E could divert and get into another location. But again, this would be, I'm just using one scenario of one whole E here, but we know that's the largest of the cargo ships that we have in the game right now. So that was that. Any thoughts, Admiral, or is it okay?
Well, Holly is like the furthest distance one, so I mean, it seems I know that those are heavy fighters, so it should be able to get. I think it's okay. You do have some. I question you might need like maybe a bigger ship to kind of maneuver that type of distance that thing could be going in one jump, or like however many it can do without stopping. That'd be my only question, because the idea is just to kind of just that'd be my only question really.
Well, like when we watch the whole C commercial, I mean, obviously it's always great when you can travel and stay in Quantum for as long as possible and not come out. But there are going to be those times where, like you said, even if it's just for refueling purposes, you may have to, instead of, maybe the whole E could do it in one shot. But in order to have the protection of escorts, you may have to stop 2 or 3 times on the way, just because of the refueling needs of those fighters. And it's no way to really get around that, because even if you bring a Starfarer with you, and that's one way to do it, to stop somewhere in deep space and do your refueling operations where you probably wouldn't be detected. But it would all depend on the route, right? It depends on where you are, and that might be the other alternative, to bring a Starfarer with you and just do your refueling on the way, which is a great alternative as well, versus pulling into a hostile environment, hostile location, and maybe taking a risk of some people sitting in there drinking a drink and looking out the window and seeing your whole E pulling around, and then telling all your friends a whole E just pulled into the station, So a lot of things you could do with that. Okay. All right, go to Admiral now, see what he's got here. We're going to be winding it down a little bit. Whoa, look at that. Military asteroid operations. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm starting to get into some stuff here. So
bigger fish to fry.
So I got an Orion. I got a Sentinel as well. We'll start over here at the top right. Is this a Sentinel, and I've got 4 Scorpiuses. These are and then 2 trackers. So all this fighter support on the right hand side is strictly for the Orion. They don't need to go with the hulls or whatever. I also have a Polaris, a Nautilus, and a Starfarer Gemini just to fuel all these ships. I picked the Polaris not so much for its torpedoes, although it can help. I mean, it's good for larger vessels, but I actually did it for the pilots and crew of the smaller ships that won't be leaving those ships. I wanted a place where those real players, real people in the game, can have a place to sit down and land in a Polaris and take a break, or to have their character be able to go to the bathroom or eat and drink, and not have to fly back to a base or something like that. So everything, all those can, the Sentinel can do it. They can just get out of their chair but the other ships need a place to sit down, so the pilot can get out and do what they need to do. So that's why I have that ship there. So the Polaris will go out with no like support, craft inside. That way it can actually, all those ships can utilize that hangar bay. The Nautilus would drop out probably, I would think, the turreted with the laser weapons or something like that. I don't think I'd want to put mines everywhere because I don't want them going off by accident for some stupid reason. So close to the Orion. But I think having additional blaster support that someone might not be like really tracking coming into a situation like that, they might be like, oh, there's a Scorpius there, I'll attack it, and it's getting shot by something it doesn't even know where it's coming from. So I think that would be good to have.
Let me throw something at you that Colossal says, and I kind of agree with him on this. He said, would you consider replacing the Polaris with the Perseus? And I'll tell you why I'm agreeing with that. More than likely,
no.
if you're mining in Orion, you're in an asteroid belt. Navigating a Polaris around to fire a torpedo at would more than likely be fighters. I don't know how effective that's going to be. Because the question becomes, what's the goal of anyone who's attacking the Orion? Are they coming to take the ship? Are they coming to take the cargo? And if so, what type of ships are coming to do that? And I don't know if a Polaris in an asteroid belt is going to do anything.
But what's more important in an asteroid belt, the Polaris or the fighter support that I have with the Scorpiuses, the trackers, and the Scorpiuses and the trackers?
And my point is, what's the Polaris doing in an asteroid belt?
It's providing support for all those support fighters. That's its primary goal.
Like what support?
It's hangar. It's the only reason it's there. The only reason I picked that ship is for its hangar.
Oh, just the hangar and that's it. Oh, okay.
It's a big sledgehammer, so if someone sees it, oh shit, they have a Polaris. But it is there for to help out
just for the fighters.
The people in the actual players, like you and me, Chauvin's, Colossal. So if they're in a Scorpius, they can land, go to the bathroom, take a break from flying around in an asteroid field for 10 minutes, and they can get back up in the air or 20 minutes, whatever they need.
I'm playing devil's
advocate.
R&R. Devil's advocate.
Yes, the Polaris is R&R.
Is this deep space or central space, like fairly close?
It's probably further out because they don't have. I don't think the Scorpius should be leaving.
So how are your fighters getting out there?
Well, it's the distance they can get out there. I get the Starfarer so they can reach it at least one way.
Okay. So that hangar can only hold 1, 2. What are the fighters again? Well, they can't hold any of the Redeemers. The Redeemers won't fit in there, I don't think.
The Redeemers and the Hull. Okay. So I didn't even get to those yet.
Okay.
The Redeemers and the Hull Bs are the transport for the Orion stuff. Now, could I go to a Hull C? Maybe I could go to a Hull C. I thought it'd be quicker to be able to load Hull Bs, and they'd be less flashy to everybody. So it'd almost be overkill. So you have the Hull Bs go out there, 2 Redeemers per one. Okay. What the hell is in that? What's so important? Whatever. I don't want to get involved. Yeah. And it's so small, it's easy to get around.
That's fair. That's fair.
So that's why I did those. I can maybe add a third Hull B and another set of Redeemers. Either or.
And they would be doing an operation going back and forth.
They would be going the same thing you were talking about, just doing back and forth. But the idea for the Polaris is to provide primary support
for the fighters. I got you. Okay.
And really it's to show anybody like, oh shit, they have a Polaris. But that's really not. It's more of like, it's like bringing a nuclear submarine into into an area. It's like, hey, look what I got. You're not going to do anything with it, but you just kind of like, showing that you're good, your big stick out. So that's why it's there. And I have the Sentinel there for some E-War support, and I got the 2 trackers to give me further range, and they can extend. So instead of you got one little tracker, maybe stationary, now you can have 2 trackers who are further out, doing a larger radius from the group, and keeping and doing like a giant 360 or however they wanted to do it. So that's why.
Okay. Cool. Very cool.
Thank you, Chauvin. Appreciate it.
All right. This one here is one in theory. I want to talk about this because this is a ship that it's not used a lot. We've had fun doing some stuff with it in the past, but I want to talk about the aspect of if the possibilities of what can happen with this ship. In lore, the Prowler actually is a ship that provides, I think it's like 16 people can ride on it. And it has the ability to come in a very stealthy, covert way into areas. The one thing that is not working on the ship, and this is all based on lore and the marketing of it, is the fact that it has Gravlev. And it's in the Tavaran Wars, these were very difficult ships to go against. And the idea was that they can come in very low, like literally above the ground, just like a ground bike would at a very quick speed and come in low. They don't have to be 10 feet above the ground, but my point is they could be much faster than coming in with a Valkyrie. They also provide, when exiting the ship, 3 different ways to exit the ship. Out of the sides, the left and right port and starboard sides, and also out of the rear of the ship. I would love to see these ships come into the design that CIG has talked about. Right now, they're not ships that a lot of people like to use, but they do carry, I think, 2 size 5s or a size 5 gun on them. They were at one point very formidable and people were flying them a lot, but I think they got nerfed a little bit. But I would love to see these type of ships for a covert. Not that you couldn't use a Valk, but I think if we're talking about radar or scanning signatures and things of that nature, I hope that they do build out these ships based on their lore, so that people can use them, you know. Chauvin, you're funny. What are you going to say?
I'm just reading his comment.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just reading his comment, yeah. So Tavaran, don't they have the fighter? Isn't that those fighters also?
With their fighters too. Mm-hmm. Their fighters.
Are they also stealthy? I think they're stealthy.
They have a stealth in the shielding technique that's, I think, designed so that they create a, I forget what the shield is called.
It's the phalanx.
The phalanx. Yeah. And when they're grouped together, there is strengthened and is even better shielding. But again, this is all relation to lore, right? Whether the technical aspects of the games will be able to deliver these things is another story. But because we do have Gravlev, I'm hopeful for that for the Prowlers. Yeah.
But explain to me, like, are you pulling out like 20 people here? Like, what's the
there are 16
people
here? There are 16 people on each of those ships.
Okay, so what's the scenario?
The scenario is if you just want to get in, nothing more than like a Navy SEAL operation. I know Navy SEALs can be a very small group or they could be a large group, but it's just a covert, go in someplace where, you know, if you want to go in and take over a distribution center, but you got to deliver your people in there and you're coming in over those plains that lead into that area. If it's one of those places where there's no trees and stuff, or even if there are trees, you fly in low, you drop your people off just like in the commercial and you take off and leave. That's it. Get them in quietly, okay, so nobody knows you were there, kind of thing.
I think, okay, so Captain Jones says the talent is stealth. So I think you should have some fighter support because you're just trying to get your crew out, and then you're kind of basing that off of you're basing that off of your pre-discovery of any enemy assets. So you're not using like current knowledge base of like if you're going into an area kind of not blind, but you know, you just kind of like going off of the team on the ground, I guess, because they're trying to get out.
No. I wouldn't do that. If I'm talking about covert operations, you're talking about something where intelligence is done. You know what's there, right? If you're coming in under the wire, under the scope of night or whatever it is, you know where you're going, you know. So I mean, to bring in fighters is okay, but I'm not going to try to come in and have to worry about engagement. The most I'm going to be worrying about is whether or not somebody's ground stuff is going to be doing ground to surface shooting at me coming in. I'm not going to be flying these guys into a scenario where I've got fighters and all this other stuff going on in the air. That's why specifically about covert ops and extraction. I was being real specific about that. I just want
to make sure there's no other threats that you. Yeah, you don't have it again. You don't have a Terrapin there, and that's just why I'm like. And I know that the commercial for
Yeah.
I know the commercial for that ship, for this ship, the Prowler, they showed it go right over a ballista, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Right.
And
That's
then
why I said it's all based on lore. It's based on lore. That's why I said it from the very
well,
beginning.
I mean, it's all you can do. So it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, well, apparently that's got like ridiculously crazy stealth.
Right.
So
Right. But if it doesn't, then yeah, you're absolutely right. You better have some stuff with it for sure. Okay, let's see what you
Fast
got
Card
next.
Chauvin says he hasn't heard. You can write a joke if you want to FC in chat.
Oh
'cause
my
He hasn't heard
god.
anything.
All right, what we got? Oh, search and rescue. Down 600i. Okay. Let's see what
Down
this is about.
600i Griff. We've got
Okay.
it's like the calamity of all calamities because we've
I'm
got an
listening.
origin ship,
I'm
and
listening.
they had to land because the toilet didn't work, and
Yeah.
we need a response team immediately. We need like 10 janitors and as many rescue staff.
Mhm.
So the idea was like, hey, we've got a down 600i, we got a beacon down, we're not sure exactly where it's at. So it was kind of like, okay, who do we send to respond? So
Okay.
well, we got a high profile ship, and we want to make sure everybody gets out alive. So we're gonna send in like these 4 ships here: the medic, the Terrapin, so we can get like a better tag on the signal coming out of there. Which and of course we're not sure which one's gonna get there first. So we're gonna send the Terrapin down there to get like a confirmed location, and then those land, and the Apollos in there because there's going to be again, like you said earlier, there's only one bed on the Terrapin, so we've got multiple beds on the Apollo, and we want to make sure that the entire staff and the guests on that vessel is well taken care of, and to leave a good impression on on the company. So if the company can get everybody out of there alive, then that's good. So I think a good response team for something like that would be beneficial.
Okay.
Any comments, suggestion?
I got a question because I don't know the
Nope.
answer to this. Does the
Maybe.
does the Terrapin medical does the Terrapin medical medic does it also have scanning capability like the regular Terrapin, or is that something that they compromise
No, I believe it's
for?
it's a search and rescue. I believe it has the same.
It has this. It has the scanning capabilities and stuff too. Okay, that's
I believe
cool.
it has a still. Yeah.
I never knew. That's why I was asking. I didn't know it's more than just an ambulance. It does have the. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
I have an addendum if you want to see it real quick.
An addendum to that one?
I have an addendum. I just have to go up.
Oh, okay.
Ready? Here we go. Ready? Afterwards. Oh boy. Afterwards. SRVs. Got the SRVs. So that way we can take the ship, hopefully, in one
scrap
go.
The 600 eyes. You're gonna scrap the 600
well, hold on. We're gonna save the people on the ship, right? We're gonna save the people for the customer.
Okay.
And then reclaim the ship, retrieve the vehicle, and be able to use that for a claim or to repair it or whatever. To get the insurance process going, right? To get the insurance process going.
Okay.
And by doing that, you can actually combine career fields. You can actually have a rescue crew, and you go to an accident,
retrieval,
down the street, on any Interstate 95, and you've got it's just a thing that shows up. Hey, it's a flatbed tow truck,
right?
So they kind of mix together. So I think it's a pretty good way to connect the fields if you're kind of thinking one way and you're like, oh well, I kind of want to do this, I want to do that, and it's like, hey, I'm actually looking for somebody who might actually have that capability to have an SRV to join my medical org. That'd be kind of something to think about. So again, we're talking fleets here. How can I add on to my fleet that seems so static in just the medical field? And I kind of want to go outside the box a little bit and bring in some vehicle reclaiming.
That makes sense. Yeah. That kind of wraps up the whole loop of everything, right? To be able to retrieve the vehicle, get the people and retrieve the vehicle. That's a cool idea. I like it. Okay. All right, this is going to be my last one, and then I'm going to let Admiral close us out with his last one because we're actually at the top of the hour already. This is a larger one that I did for ground assault. And hopefully I can remember what I put in here and name everything. This one here has 2 liberators. Both of those liberators, and I couldn't remember the complete complement about the interior of that ship, but I right now I had at least 2 Nova tanks on each one of them, on the interior, on the exterior. On the one on your right side, I've got 2 F-7C Hornets, and on the one to the left on the Liberator, there's a F-7CR tracker there, and also a Terrapin medic that is there. And let's see, who's that? Mojo XFNT in 1. Thank you so much for following. Appreciate that. And then in the center there, we've got Apollo triage there. And then to the left and right of those, we have the Crusader M2 Hercules. Each one of those is carrying, the one on the top is carrying 3 of the, I gotta zoom in because I can't remember, guys. 3 of the Storms on this one. And then the one on this side is carrying 3 Storm AAs on that one. And then we have 2 Valkyries, one with a Cyclone RN for scanning purposes. And then we have a Ursa vehicle medevac. And then these Valks also, as you know, have seating for 20 troops inside of them. So you basically got 4 tanks, 3 Storm AAs, 3 regular Storms, and then you have the 2 Valks with troops inside of them, and then you have air support here, as well as reconnaissance, and of course medical support and everything else there too. So that would be like a large ground assault, flying in and dropping folks off to have this big ground assault thing. What do you think, Admiral? Overkill, crazy? They're all going to die?
I think it's pretty good. I'm going to ask you the same question you asked me.
Sure.
Hey, Kusanagi, do you think you got enough medical support there with that with those ships?
Yeah, I struggled with that because, you know, the none of those ships, the M2s or the Liberators, and I tried to remember, did the Liberator have a medical area, and I was told it doesn't. And so all we've got is the triage. I thought about a second one, which would bring us up to 12 beds if there were injuries, because there are 40 people on foot. I won't even count the people that are in vehicles, but just the people who are troops. You've got 40 of them out there, and you've only got 6 beds available. But like you, I will say they're going to be super troopers, and nobody's going to die. So I probably do need to add another access to and maybe even a scenario like this would be a great time to have an Endeavor up in orbit, with a hospital, to be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
Right. But that's a whole nother
zooming in here.
That's a whole nother scenario to do that one. But that's probably the one. M2 has a lot of drop seats too. Yeah, that's true, Citizen Ninja. I didn't think about that. You've got plenty of people that could be in there as well. So yeah, that number does increase dramatically. What about the Ironclad assault? It's in the name. Yeah, I didn't do the Ironclad because I didn't have enough information on it other than the promo. So the ships that we don't have was kind of a little bit more difficult for me to brain power it through. I kind of went with stuff that we were a little bit more familiar with. But yeah, we definitely could have looked at that for ground assault for sure, because that's all over the promo for that one. We could have done that one. Okay, let's wrap it up.
I think Colossal said, maybe some more M2s, and maybe you can maybe throw those on an M2 or something like that, and get those other
some more
personnel
M2s
here. I know we're running short on time, but I have 2 slides. I do want to say I do have 2 slides.
All right, we got time for one. I'm on a
schedule. What about 1.5, Griff? I'll go through really fast, okay? I'm going to go through really fast because I know the people here want to see my slides. Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, major planetary salvage operation. Someone said they wanted some Drake stuff, so I got Drake. Look at this crap. It's crazy, right?
The Drake
I got the Buccaneers. Now, this is a landing location. The one thing about the Kraken that I think is a little bit a misnomer is like, oh, it's an aircraft carrier. I'm like, it's a mobile base. Think about it, right. A mobile base able to like land down and be able to do everything you could do with every other crap you could do. It's right. Like everything is there, right? So nice. It's like one thing. It's like I tell people think about a base and they're like, oh, actually, I like it a little bit better. So think of it that way if you really think about the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
You got all the yellow jackets in there that can do scouting or whatever they need to get away.
Mm-hmm.
I've got CSV, SMs to
CSVs.
move stuff
Mm-hmm.
around. I've got some atlases in there. I've got a tracker to move stuff. Now the idea here is think about a javelin or something big. Now currently we've got a salvage, which we do this miracle, Harry Potter stuff, and everything turns into dust. So we're not sure if that's going to stay around anymore for one, beyond 1.0, like 2030 beyond that. Right now, the vultures still got the grindy things in the middle. The reclaimer's got a huge giant room. It has grindy little things, so that's an entire waste of space right now. If they're gonna keep the way the system that it is right now, they got to change the entire. They should change that room because it serves no purpose. So this is assuming that may go back and may make salvage slower. So I've got cutter scouts here as well. I got vultures to kind of take away and cut away the ship. This is like if you're on the ground for like a while, like I'm talking like a good while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Cutlass Blacks moving cargo that stuff with the Caterpillar if you need it. Or I should say, as you get to a point where you can actually load it up and then send it on away. But again,
Mm-hmm.
most of the stuff is going to go into the Kraken and then eventually go into the Caterpillar. Corsairs and the Cutlass Blacks can do cargo runs while for the Kraken, so those can doesn't have to go anywhere and have that all that support. So that's why I have this like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Jones doesn't like Drake, but that's okay. Okay, my next one. Okay, because Griff is short on time. Ground-based construction, folks.
Okay.
We got this thing called whatever the hell it's called, Pioneer. I did bring a 400i for you, Griff, and that's for like the exec to come down, maybe bring the owner of the location down to check out the operations, right? I have a Vulcan for all like the ships that are there, for like the Infernos, the Arrows who are doing who might be needed. I didn't bring any armors, but if like tanks did show up, I'd have the Infernos there to take out any armor that might come down that actually reach the ground. I've got the C2 Hercules there with an atlases per ship that can actually load and unload these cargo to be used on the Pioneer. So these things could be moving as fast as I can, and I got atlases again in the CSVs for that as well. And then I've got a terrapin and ballistas. So you think about the 4 quadrant, like 4 locations on corners of the actual, say the landing of the construction zone that would control the air. The terrapin is there to have to be the control tower for everything coming and going. Now you might have that in the Pioneer, but at least it's like a doubling up. You could they could take breaks or whatever, because we're talking real people here. Like hey, like I take 5 minutes or something like that, or I'm gonna go for lunch, and that person can go, and there's someone always there to do that. But I'd like to have somebody in the Terrapin who's trying to doing like tower work, so that they can talk to the ballistas, like hey, we got so and so coming in from the northeast or whatever. And then if we have to get anybody out, I want it because I just want it to be really, really secure. I want all the logistics to be really, really done well and be a nice, smooth process. I think this is the kind of something like this is something that I like a lot. So that's what I got.
What are the
no nomads?
On the
Sorry,
right
Colossal.
side?
No nomads.
What is that on the? You've got are those Aries you've got on the right side?
I've got arrows, and 2 infernos in case I get any incursions of armor.
And what's that up top?
Approach.
What's that up top?
I've got ballistas and terrapins.
Oh, the ballistas. Okay, yeah. The ballistas. Okay.
I have 4.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we're able to protect a construction site like that. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I like the idea of what's there. I'm just like thinking about that, like all the stuff that's going on. How do you protect that freaking Pioneer is a monster? You know what I mean? It is a huge ship. But we'll have to see. I like it. Okay.
So, yeah, thank you. I hope everybody else enjoyed both of my Kraken and my Pioneer. I'm just trying to
I'm sure you made the Drake
look at the
people
big
happy.
ones here.
Yeah, you made the Drake people happy. They usually don't get a lot of love, so I'm sure they really like that.
Again, if you,
Um,
I'm not a big Drake fan, like I'm really
mhm,
not. But when you think of it as a mobile base,
mhm,
there's nothing out there like it. It really isn't.
mhm.
A mobile base can, like, people talk about using the Pioneer to throw down a base, and then what happens if the commodity or the reason you're there is up in smoke? You gotta pick up all your stuff, and
Mhm.
then move what you can, and move to a new system or to a new planet that makes more sense. With a Kraken, you're like, screw it, we're just gonna take off the ground and just go to the next location.
Yep.
So everything is a pro and a con, and I think I hope showed two different ways to go about it.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. We've got a question from Pops in Space. He said,
hey,
Admiral
pops.
brings up a good point. The Bengal is a supersized hangar ship. Should a smaller hangar ship be produced by CIG? Like you were using the
Okay.
Polaris, for example, for support, right? In one of your scenarios, but you were using it
Yep.
primarily so the fighters could go somewhere. Do we think that they should create something that provides that type of support, but it's basically, you know,
All
some
the other
type of
stuff is
hangar?
huge. Like you think about the Javelin, that has one hangar, right? And the Idris has got, officially it's for like three, but it's like a frigate. This thing has got one. It would be, I mean, really, you could probably do it on that. What was it? The Liberator. You could land on that,
The
probably go
Liberator could be
inside.
used like that, yeah, as a term because it can
But
you can
it's
put
kind
three
of,
ships on it. I think
I
two on
mean, you could
top and one in
literally
the
take a
front.
C2. You could take a Hercules and fly an arrow in that. I think.
Yeah, but
But
I
those
think he's just
bigger
talking about
ships.
the support side of what you're providing. Your Polaris was providing support for those ships, right? Refueling, maintenance or whatever. It's an interesting idea of a ship that is just designed to do support exclusively. I don't know. Good question, Pops. Yeah, because you don't want to bring, a valuable ship. I mean, that was my struggle with bringing the Polaris out there is that it's an expensive ship to be out there for hangar support, you know. But then again, if that's all we got, that's what we got, right? Okay. Well, thank you, Pops. Thank you for that. Okie dokie. We have
I'm gonna
answered
allow
our
that.
questions for today, and we've hit a lot of good topics. And Admiral put in a lot of good work here. And I told you we were going to get through these, and we still have more to go. But we got through most of them, which was great. I think we covered a lot of ground. Um, really want to tell you guys about what's coming up. A couple things here, but before we do that, we want to just kind of very quickly remind you that we have our event coming up, Quantum Vegas. Whoops. Turn that off completely. Quantum Vegas 2955. Most of you have been hearing us talk about this. This is going to be our community led event that's going to be held in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's going to be held on Saturday, July the 12th. Make sure I remember myself what day it is. And we hope that you guys can consider coming out to this event. It is going to be a weekend of great opportunity to meet with other people within the community. Some folks from CIG are going to be there. That Friday, we're having a bar citizen the night before. This is all going to be held at Area 18. Feel free to look it up online, Area 18, Las Vegas. An amazing facility. We were out there last weekend doing our walkthrough, our technical walkthrough, and we were just like really impressed with the place. It has a definite geek atmosphere, science fiction atmosphere that I think you guys will really enjoy. And then that's Saturday for the whole day from 8 that morning till 6 in the evening. We've got a full day of sessions, giveaways. We're giving away like a ton of stuff from CIG, not to mention some of our other sponsors are Thrustmaster, Monster Tech, Elgato, Icon City, and then, of course, some great people from our community like Starjump Grim, Paul Shelley, the Astro Historian, Natronics from EE Studios. It's going to be just a really, really great time. Sean Tracy from CIG, Galactica, Tyler Whitkin. We're just going to have a really great time. So tickets are on sale. You guys can visit the website at www.quantumvegas.space. Tickets were on our early discount sale was ended on April the 30th, and now we're at our general admission price of $100. Believe me, it's going to be worth it. Just your giveaway alone is going to be worth that giveaway. If you win one of the giveaways, it'll be worth the price of the ticket easily. But we're going to have a really great time. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that. So check out the website, visit, and consider coming out to Vegas. They're giving some good prices on hotels and stuff because people ain't been putting conventions out there recently. So if you want to get a good deal to come to Vegas, this is going to be a great weekend to come out in July. Let's see. What else do we have coming up, Admiral?
Well, Griff, I got my Invictus background on behind me now.
Oh,
so
you do? Okay,
got
you got your
Invictus
Invictus
showing
stuff
up.
going.
So,
All right, well, that's in 2 weeks. We got a couple weeks before we get to Invictus, but it's coming up for sure.
Getting the hype is real.
Coming
Get your
up in a
wallets
couple
ready.
weeks. Yep. Next Sunday is Mother's Day, and because it is Mother's Day, we are going to be taking a break. We will not be having a stream next week, so we allow people to enjoy the day off, be with their family or friends, or just chill, whatever it is you want to do. But we will be back that following week, so just next week we're going to be off. Coming up also in the month of May, I can't remember the exact date that Series Fun told me, but I think it was May 27th. Sirius, if you're there, correct me if I'm wrong. But Lore Lighthouse is going to begin. This is going to be our new show, kind of tying in things. All of our direction now is talking about the direction of where CIG seems to be going. And them building out lore now is going to be something that we really believe CIG is going to be kind of, what was the loose lore before is going to now start tightening up in relation to the different systems, the different reputation gangs. And we're going to be kind of looking at what was said in the past versus where we're going in the future. So we hope that you guys will be able to join us for that. I'm going to get a solid date for that. By the next time we meet, we'll be able to say exactly the day and time, but it is starting toward the end of this month, and we hope that you guys will join us for that. In the meantime, I think that is it. I think we've touched on everything this week. Thank you guys for putting in the extra time today. I know we went over a little bit, but we do appreciate the fact that you were here with us today and hope that you learn something. Thank you for all the comments and the cool stuff that you guys share with us too, because we saw you guys were all over the chat there, giving us all types of cool suggestions and ideas. I know some of the stuff might have sounded crazy that I said, but you all know I'm crazy anyway. I want to give a special thanks also to Admiral Kusanagi, who put in the hard work, put in time, put together some things also for this show in particular. It's a lot of work and research. Thank you. Really appreciate it. No, it was a lot of fun. I want to
make sure I invite people for Soul Citizens After Dark. So for people who don't know, for people who haven't been in our Discord after the fact, because we're just a social group, we're not an org, so you don't feel like you're pressured to have to join an org.
Yeah.
But we do like talking after the show, and it's a place to communicate, have a good community, and chat about the game. So we usually do that after the big shows. We call it Soul Citizens After Dark. It's kind of like an inner thing, because it's kind of a place to kind of let down our hair a bit, and it's kind of fun to be. So yeah.
So you guys can join us. We're always here. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. Don't forget to check out, once again, quantumvegas.space coming up on July the 2nd. And don't forget, next week we won't be here, but we hope you guys have a great weekend next week, celebrating with your family and friends. And we'll look forward to seeing you that following week. And by that time, Invictus will be starting. We'll have plenty to talk about. So
hold on, Colossal said what hair? I got to take my hair down now.
Yeah, they can take your hair down so you can see your hair. If you guys have never seen Admiral's hair before, he's got a lot of hair. So, well, thanks again. We're going to go ahead and set up a raid to raid Sinful Strife. Sinful Strife, we've raided her before, but she's rebranded herself, and she is brand new to Star Citizen. So when you get over there, give her a shout out. If you like what you see, follow her, give her some support, cheer her on for her enthusiasm and excitement for Star Citizen. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks. Until then, stay safe, take care of yourself, and as always, peace, love, soul. See you soon. Ciao.
Bye now.